Chapter 1885. This shadow could be controlled by the long-haired woman, and just like the main body, it could move as she pleased. Yang Guo tried to form a hand seal several times, but couldn't close his hands. The beast-like man on the other side lunged at him again. Yang Guo saw that the enemy was about to succeed. Suddenly, Yang Guo's right arm fell off. The shadow had originally pierced through Yang Guo's armpit and latched onto his chest. As Yang Guo's right arm fell off, the shadow couldn't help but loosen. The moment Yang Guo broke free, his left hand grabbed his right arm, which turned into an edgeless greatsword. Heavy edgeless sword. Bam! That the man on the other side was sent flying. The long-haired woman's shadow tried to latch onto Yang Guo again, but after losing his arm, Yang Guo's strength increased instead of decreasing. He turned around and swung his sword. The shadow was smashed to pieces. The long-haired woman didn't slow down, still stabbing her sword towards Yang Guo. The long-haired woman's attack was swift and fierce, her two swords sharp. But Yang Guo's great sword was as heavy as Mount Tai, as powerful as a tidal wave. The long-haired woman couldn't block a single attack. The great sword had already landed on her. But as the great sword struck her, it also shattered like a shadow. The long-haired woman reappeared from the shadow in a dark corner. Yang Guo looked at her. Although she was Caucasian, she used a Chinese martial art style. This martial arts style wasn't martial arts, but rather martial arts combined with spells. There were close combat martial arts, as well as strange and ever-changing spells. This woman's martial art style was full of strangeness, impossible to defend against. On the other side, the beast-like man also stood up and scathed. "Let's go," Yang Guo told Rayleigh in a low voice. They couldn't stay here for long. Both of them weren't easy to deal with. Rayleigh was a bit confused. Yang Guo was clearly suppressing them. Why did he run? Sensing Rayleigh's confused gaze, Yang Guo whispered, "My great sword has never been sharpened before. It can only protect myself. It can't hurt the enemy." Rayleigh still didn't understand. What difference does that make? Yang Guo couldn't explain it to Rayleigh at a time like this. "Follow behind me. We're going out." At this time, the long-haired woman and the beast-like man attacked again. Eek! Suddenly, a sharp sound came from above. A gray shadow descended from the sky, the sound like a sword, the momentum like an arrow. The long-haired woman felt a sharp pain on her left shoulder. Her shoulder had been scratched by Yang Guo's eagle. The long-haired woman instantly fell to the ground. Yang Guo grabbed Layleigh's hand and walked past her. In an instant, Yang Guo transformed the sword back into his right arm and reattached it to the stump. At this time, the eagle turned around, and Yang Guo reached out to pull it back. The condor actually pulled Yang Guo into the air. Yang Guo then grabbed Rayleigh and flew into the air as well. Layleigh's face was full of surprise. The eagle looked bigger than an ordinary eagle, but she didn't expect it to be able to carry two adults in the sky. The long-haired woman and the beast-like man could only watch as Yang Guo and Lily left. There was nothing either of them could do about it. Phew, those two fellows are really hard to deal with. "Yang, you're clearly stronger than the two of them. Why are you running?" Yang Guo smiled bitterly. "I practice the Taoist's yin and yang dual life. In my normal state, I'm yang. In this state, my defense is 100 times that of a normal person. It's almost indestructible. But there's a flaw, and that is that I can't kill. Look at the sword that my right arm has transformed into. The sword doesn't have a blade." Yang Guo paused and then said, "If I really want to kill someone, I have to use the yin death state." "Then why don't you use the yin death state? Do you think that state is something that can be changed whenever you want?" Yang Guo shook his head. "The yin death state will cause me to lose my mind. If my grandmaster isn't here, I wouldn't dare to use the yin death state at all. Only the grandmaster's aura can suppress my loss of mind. So, unless it's necessary, I don't dare to use the yin death state." Rayleigh nodded. It was unknown whether she understood or not. Although Rayleigh had the bloodline of an angel, She didn't have much contact with the spiritual world. She had known Yanghua for a few years, and every time she would ask Yanghua for help to suppress the bloodline in her body. Yanghua also rarely talked to her about the spiritual world. Your big eagle is so strong. What breed is it? Yanghua rolled his eyes. Who knew what breed it was? In any case, it wasn't an ordinary eagle. In fact, it was a demon that hadn't transformed. It was given to him by Zhang Tianyi. He said that only with a big eagle would he be complete. Fortunately, it was night. No one would see the two flying in the sky. Where are we going now? There's someone in Los Angeles who can protect us. Who? He's also my compatriot, a Chinese. Children's laughter could be heard from the front yard. Fei Lai was teaching little Larissa how to walk. Little Larissa's athletic ability was weaker than little Jerlin's. In 5 months, little Jerlin could already run, jump, swim, and climb trees. Little Larissa still staggered and followed Fei Lai's steps. Good, darling. Very good. Fei Lai stood on the other side and clapped her hands to encourage little Larissa. Little Larissa stood up with difficulty and took a step with difficulty. However, her other foot was left behind and she couldn't move forward. After a few tries, little Larissa finally moved her other leg. She couldn't maintain her balance and fell to the ground. Nevertheless, little Larissa stood up firmly, not discouraged at all. Chun Zhao sat on the ground and put his palms in front of him. Wearing boxing gloves, Crow kept punching Chun Zhao's palms. Very good. Left fist, right fist, right fist, left fist. Continue. Speed up. Raise your leg. Crow's attacks were very fierce. He used both his hands and feet, but he still couldn't break through Chun Zhao's defense. Under the full attack, Crow was already sweating profusely. Nevertheless, Crow still persisted. Crow was introverted, but this also made him stubborn and persistent. Chun Zhao didn't tell him to stop, so he kept attacking. Chun Zhao glanced at the sky and then waved his hand. Okay, you can stop now. Just then, the eagle descended from the sky with Yanghua and Lily. Lily looked at the men, women, and children in the manor. Was this the place that Yanghua said could protect them? On the other hand, Yanghua had a friendly expression. Chun Zhao, hello. Chun Zhao ignored Yanghua and turned to look at Lily. This woman's body has an aura that makes me very uncomfortable. Lily looked at Chun Zhao. She also felt uncomfortable. The pets in the house also felt uncomfortable or disliked Lily. Just then, Samuel jumped onto Chun Zhao's shoulder and looked at Lily. Descendant of angels. The moment Lily saw Samuel, a huge pair of wings spread open on her back. Chapter 1886. A holy aura emanated from Raleigh. Her gaze toward Chun Zhao was filled with hostility. Even she didn't know why she had such a feeling. However, Samuel only glanced at Raleigh and then lost interest. Chun Zhao also had the same feeling toward Raleigh. It was like she was his natural enemy. After all, he had demon blood in him too. However, one only needed to be rational to know that this was hostility from the bloodline. He wouldn't have any special feelings for her. Raleigh, why are you using this power again? Yanghua asked, frowning. Just now, when facing danger, Raleigh had resisted the urge to use her angelic power. But now, facing Chun Zhao, Raleigh actually released this dangerous power. Put your wings away, Chun Zhao said indifferently, if you want to stay here as a guest. Raleigh took a deep breath and suppressed the uncomfortable feeling in her heart. Before Raleigh and Yanghua arrived, Chun Zhao had received Zhang Tianyi's call. Chun Zhao cursed silently. He'd just gotten Zhang Tianyi's heaven and man coexistence and owed him a favor. But now it was time to return the favor. And an angel, a mixed angel. She was the nemesis of their entire family. After Raleigh put away her wings, the atmosphere relaxed. Is this your little lover? She's the same as Yanghua in the novel. Chun Zhao glanced at Raleigh and then conversed with Yanghua in Chinese. What? I have nothing to do with her. Neither does Yonggwa in the novel. Did you forget what Yonggwa said? Once you meet Yonggwa, you'll regret your whole life. Qin Zhao said, gloating. But you have a good chance to enjoy having 2 lovers. Spare me, please. If my wife hears this, she'll kill me. Oh, where's Xiao Longnu? You only brought your little lover? You didn't bring your wife? I don't want to talk to you. Fei Lai brought Raleigh to wash up and change. She looked like an African refugee now. What's with that woman? As you can see, she's a woman who's being hunted. She has angel blood, Yonggwa said. That's too simple. Be more specific. That's all I know. Who's chasing her? Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. Kill the person who's chasing her. Are you a man or not? She and I are friends. Let's not talk about the fact that I don't know who's after her. Even if I knew, it's none of my business. Besides, I might not be able to deal with the people who are after her. Do you want to help me? If you don't care, then why should I care? At most, I'll provide you with a place to stay. If anyone comes to harass you within the boundaries of my home, I'll help you deal with it. But once you leave this area, you can do whatever you want. If we don't get rid of the people who are after Layli, won't she have to stay here for a long time? Long term? You're wrong. I have at most a week. Within a week, you can either find help from your fellow disciples or get the hell out of here. Qin Zhao said matter-of-factly. A week? How can we make it in time? Yonggwa panicked. He was actually very strong, but his battle prowess was very average. Even the 2 people he faced today, he was clearly stronger than the other party, but he didn't dare to face him head-on. Qin Zhao was unmoved by Yonggwa's cries. Anyway, he wouldn't leave a person who was against his family in his home. Taking them in for a week was to return Zhang Tiany's favor. How about we make a bet? Yonggwa had an idea. He looked at Chen Zhao with a smile on his face. What bet? Let's bet. If you can't hit me, I'll stand still. If you can injure me within 3 moves, I lose, Yonggwa said confidently. Yonggwa said confidently. If you don't injure me within 3 moves, I'll consider it my win. Little Yang, Chen Zhao said in a strange tone. At the same time, he patted Yonggwa's shoulder. Don't call me Little Yang. Fine, Gu'er. Just call me Little Yang. Little Yang, look at this dragon's head. I killed it. Are you sure you can take it? Yonggwa was very confident in his heart. Back then, he'd withstood his father-in-law's beating for an entire day. After an entire day, he'd at most suffered some light injuries. It was just a drizzle. He didn't believe that Chen Zhao could injure him within 3 moves. Nevertheless, Yonggwa also grasped Chen Zhao's thoughts. Since Chen Zhao had the ability to kill dragons, he must be very confident in his own abilities. He definitely didn't think that Yonggwa could take his attacks. I'm very sure. What if you lose? If I lose, you can do whatever you want of me. What do you mean by that? Even if I wanted to kill you, the people from Dragon Tiger Mountain would come looking for trouble. You're not sincere at all. Chen Zhao's face was full of disdain. He didn't want to kill Yonggwa. Killing him would bring him trouble. So, Yonggwa's bet didn't benefit Qin Zhao at all. Yonggwa thought for a moment and said, Then I'll do whatever you want. What do you think? How long? A year. That's not short, right? Sounds good. Qin Zhao nodded. It would be a waste not to take a free labor. Chen Zhao didn't like Yonggwa, but since it was free, he had no reason to reject. Then, if you lose, you have to give Lily at least a year. Yonggwa's face finally revealed a proud smile, no longer hiding his thoughts. It was as if he was mocking Chen Zhao for falling into his trap. Sure, Qin Zhao nodded. Yonggwa took a deep breath. Wait a moment. I'll make some preparations. Go ahead. Tell me when you're ready. With that, Qin Zhao picked up his phone. I'll make a call, too. Qin Zhao called Zhang Tiani. Old Zhang, your disciple said he wants to bet with me. He wants to see if I can break his defense in 3 moves. Why did you call the Grandmaster? Yonggwa looked at Qin Zhao in shock. Zhang Tianyi's face darkened. Give the phone to Yang Guo. Yang Guo took the phone and said timidly, "Hello, Grandmaster." "Are you out of your mind?" "Grandmaster, I'm confident." "Please don't scold me. What confidence do you have? Admit defeat right now." "I'm really confident. You're not even fully grown yet, and you're already challenging everywhere." "Grandmaster, I know what I'm doing." After saying that, Yang Guo directly hung up the phone. "Qin Zhao, how can you be like this? Calling the Grandmaster completely messed with my mind. I can't even use 10% of my strength now. Then I only need one move. If you can block one of my moves, I'll admit defeat." "Fine, you said it. Don't go back on your word." Yang Guo threw the phone back to Qin Zhao. "Sikong Starlord, 6th grade of the middle stage, please issue a decree." "Come." Yang Guo shouted and threw the talisman into the air. Chapter 1887. The 6th Pure Sikong Lord was the middle stage of the 3 Celestial Lords, the main sect. The other 2 Celestial Lords were the Void Spirit Kai Lord and the Chu Xing Si Lu Lord. In Taoism, the 3 Celestial Lords corresponded to heaven, earth, and man. They were also known as essence, qi, and spirit. Heaven was empty, earth was blue, and man was dust. The 6th Pure Sikong Lord belonged to man and was in charge of defense. This god's decree was to use external qi to temporarily buff one's body. The talisman ignited in the air, turning into a wisp of smoke and dissipating. The smoke turned into a faint shadow in the air and instantly entered Yang Guo's body. After God's decree was done, Yang Guo didn't stop. He cast a second buff. Qin Zhao picked up the phone again. "Old Zhang, your disciple's spell looks really cool. How much strength do I need to use?" "I don't know." "Qin Zhao, don't kill my disciple or I'll never let you off. I don't know how to control my strength. I'm not confident." "Qin Zhao, I have a false life substitute talisman. I'll give it to you. I'll try to control my strength." Qin Zhao glanced at Yang Guo and put away the phone. Done? By now, Yang Guo had already cast 5 defensive spells. "Come." Yang Guo crooked his finger. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. "Puug." Yang Guo spat out a mouthful of blood. Immediately, a huge force pierced through Yang Guo's body. Like a cannonball, Yang Guo flew out of the cliff in an arc. It had been a long time since Qin Zhao had touched such solid flesh with his fist. He'd used 30% of his normal strength in that punch. He didn't dare to use too much strength, but it seemed that Yang Guo could take at least 50% of his strength. Of course, even 30% of his strength was enough to heavily injure Yang Guo. Yang Guo flew more than 100 meters in the air. Then he fell into the sea with a splash. Yang Guo floated on the surface of the sea, just like that. Right now, Yang Guo had completely lost consciousness. His body and mind were both injured. Qin Zhao's punch had dazed him. He'd never been injured like this before. No one had been able to break through his defense with one punch. Swish, 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 swish. Just then, Yang Guo's phone rang. Yang Guo took out his phone slowly. "Boy, how was it? Did you feel good?" Zhang Tianyi's gloating tone gave Yang Guo another blow. "Grandmaster, you already knew?" "I warned you long ago, but you didn't listen. Even I don't dare to take a punch from Qin Zhao. Where did you get the courage to fight him?" Don't look for excuses. Since you're willing to bet, you have to accept your loss. Whatever you lost to him, you have to fulfill your promise honestly." Zhang Tianyi believed that Qin Zhao would give him face and not make things too difficult for his immature disciple. But with Qin Zhao's bad personality, if he didn't get anything from Yang Guo, he probably wouldn't give Yang Guo anything good either. Yang Guo felt stifled. He now understood what it meant to be a pretentious prick. Unfortunately, he was the one who started it. Now he had to swallow this bitter pill himself. Yang Guo returned to the Mingyue villa and sat on the ground dejectedly. Qin Zhao had a smile on his face. I won just now, right? You win. Although Yang Guo was very unwilling, he still didn't want to admit defeat. Yang Guo wasn't satisfied, but he could only accept it. A loss was a loss. I didn't use my real power, Yang Guo added. Yang Guo added, that was a moment of carelessness. Otherwise, you definitely wouldn't have been able to break through my defense. Come, I'll give you another chance. Use your real power, and let's fight again. Chen Zhao didn't mind at all. He'd roughly tested Yang Guo's strength with that one sentence. One had to admit that Yang Guo's defense was very shocking. He was even stronger than the dragons, Chen Zhao knew. Chen Zhao's punch could kill a dragon in an instant, but he only injured Yang Guo. Chen Zhao didn't know how strong Yang Guo was, but his defense was ridiculously strong. Hearing Chen Zhao's words, Yang Guo cursed inwardly. Chen Zhao didn't give him any face at all. He was just being polite. In the end, Chen Zhao didn't even give him a chance. I'm injured. After I recover, I'll fight you again. Yang Guo turned to leave. Which room am I in? I'll take you there. Chen Zhao brought Yang Guo to the door. This is your room. Yang Guo pushed the door open and entered. 3 seconds later, Yang Guo ran out of the room pathetically. Chen Zhao, you're too much. What's wrong? Rayleigh's in the room. Perfect. I'll create a chance for you. I'm a man with a family. You don't even know how to enjoy having multiple partners. Chen Zhao pursed his lips. Then you can stay opposite. At night, Chen Zhao waited until everyone was asleep before rising into the sky again. When he reached a certain height, he used heaven and man coexistence. Chen Zhao's power kept spreading. The entire small world was enveloped in the swirling air currents. There were no clouds in the sky, so no matter how fast the air flowed, there wouldn't be any weather effects. The yin-yang fish in Chen Zhao's body kept spinning and growing stronger. However, after forming the yin-yang fish and stabilizing it, his cultivation speed slowed down. Every day, he would cultivate until the sun appeared at the end of the sky. Of course, it was much faster to see the sun from tens of thousands of meters in the sky than on the ground. Chen Zhao returned to the ground and started cultivating, absorbing and converting immortal power. Chen Zhao's cultivation was divided into 2 parts. The first was to absorb cosmic rays and cultivate in energy. Then he would absorb the spiritual qi in the world and convert it into immortal power, cultivating yang energy. Mingyue Villa had the immortal's inner core that old Turtle had left behind, so Chen Zhao could directly absorb the immortal power from it and convert it into his own. This process was much faster than directly absorbing the spiritual qi in the world and converting it into immortal power. After a day of cultivation, it was almost time for breakfast. Early in the morning, Chen Zhao saw Yang Guo walk out of the room in high spirits. Looks like you've recovered well. Chen Zhao glanced at Yang Guo. Of course. No matter how serious my injuries are, I can completely recover in 3 days. Last night's minor injuries are enough for me to recover in 1 night, Yang Guo said proudly. What's for breakfast? Youtiao and soy milk. Do you want it? You can eat youtiao and soy milk here. Yang Guo asked in surprise. If you want to eat, help yourself. I won't help you get it. Yang Guo came and left in a hurry. He only came back with breakfast. Just then, Lily also woke up. Looking at her face, she didn't seem to have slept well last night. This was understandable. After all, to her, this place was like hell. It was filled with a demonic aura. Chapter 1888. The last thing Chen Zhao's family would do was give in to outsiders. Chen Zhao would protect Riley, but he wouldn't give in to her. If she wanted to stay, she could stay. If not, she could leave. Reluctantly, Riley sat down for breakfast. Chen Zhao's family frolicked at the breakfast table. Riley didn't say anything. Portia was here to get free food and drinks again. Boss, who are they? Friends. Portia walked over to Yang Guo and Riley. Hi, I'm Portia. Hi. Yang was shook hands with Portia. Riley was a silent person. She didn't say anything. Portia didn't mind either. She was used to all kinds of strange people in Chen Zhao's family. Not long after Feilai went to work, Denver and Alex came. "Mr. Chen, long time no see," Denver greeted Chen Zhao. "Here's this month's financial report. Take a look." Chen Zhao always had a headache with numbers. After seeing the signature and stamp of the finance department, he continued reading. Chen Zhao had Ash Roford move from the sales department to the finance department. He was Chen Zhao's man, so he could be Chen Zhao's spy. It wasn't that Chen Zhao didn't trust Denver, even though he'd given him almost all the power. However, he still had to do the necessary financial reconciliation. Ash Roford was still on parole, but according to the work the company had given him and the evaluation report, his original 1-year sentence was reduced to half a year. Apparently, after his sentence was over, he planned to fight for custody of his daughter. When he'd divorced his wife, he'd had problems with his finances and work. Because of that, he'd lost custody of his daughter. Coupled with the kidnapping at the airport, he'd been convicted for endangering public safety. He didn't even have visitation rights or the right to leave the country. But with Chen Zhao's help, his life was back on track. So, Ash Roford was completely loyal to Chen Zhao now. It was common practice for a shareholder to send a financial officer to the company. Denver wouldn't be unhappy because of this. "Last month's profit seems to have increased again," Chen Zhao said. "Yes, because of the increase in production, the market share has increased, and the cost has been greatly reduced. That's why the profits are so high," Denver explained. "However, this is basically the highest profit we can achieve with our current production. Our company's beer production is still a problem. We can't solve the problem of production for now. After all, the water used is from Mirror Lake. Mirror Lake can't be drained." Denver also understood this logic. In addition, Dashin beer was now popular, largely because of hunger marketing. Dashin beer was always in short supply when it came to market demand. As a result, Dashin beer would often be sold out within 4 to 5 days. For the next few days, they were out of stock. "What's our current plan for beer?" Chen Zhao asked. "What we need to do now is to maintain the market share, stabilize the market, and increase the advertising," Denver said. Although Dashin beer was very popular, almost everyone knew about it. However, for beverage products, advertising has always been indispensable. For example, the largest cola company in the past once thought that their product was famous enough, so they stopped investing in advertising for a year. In the end, the product sales dropped by 60% that year. It was also the only time that the second cola brand surpassed the first in sales. Denver also focused on stability. As always, Chen Zhao supported Denver's decision. As long as Denver didn't make any stupid decisions, Chen Zhao wouldn't interfere with his company's management and development strategy. Chen Zhao's income last month was $150 million. After reading it, he gave the bill to Alex. She was in charge of checking the accounts and legal verification. Alex glanced at the number on the bill and grinned. A while ago, she thought that Chen Zhao's customized yacht was too extravagant. Now, she felt that Chen Zhao's money came too easily. "Auntie Alex." Little Jerlin ran in from outside and jumped onto Alex's body. Alex picked up little Jerlin and teased her. "Little Jerlin, you've grown heavier again. Are you planning to become a big fatty?" "No, I'm growing taller. Plus, I swim every day." Alex wasn't worried about Jerlin's growth at all. Chen Zhao was indeed very good at children's growth. Jerlin wasn't the only one who was growing well. The other children were all rosy and energetic too. "Auntie, hug." Little Larissa followed Alex's lead and reached out for a hug as well. Alex picked them up one by one. "Little Larissa still remembers me?" Little Larissa took out a lollipop from her pocket. "And eat." The candy Chen Zhao gave Jerlin and Larissa were all lollipops like this. If they choked on it, they could pull it out immediately. The other children, and even the pets could handle it. If it was a regular candy, it would be very troublesome if they choked on it. Children liked to eat sweets, mainly because they needed it for growth. As long as they didn't overeat, Qin Zhao wouldn't stop them. Plus, it wasn't like the family didn't have money. Denver was a workaholic, so he went back to the company after checking the accounts. Alex stayed to play with the children. Qin, you said last time that there's a big project next year. As long as I have the money, you'll let me in. Is that true? You have money. Qin Zhao turned his head and looked at Alex. I don't, but you do. Alex looked at Qin Zhao. I'll borrow some money at the bank's interest rate. How much do you want? 500 million, Alex said. Okay. Qin Zhao nodded. To put it simply, the project in Qin Zhao's plan was to share the benefits and share the profits equally. If Qin Zhao was alone, he definitely couldn't make the project big. In front of such huge benefits, everyone would be jealous. Both the government and the industry would suppress him. The best choice was to share the benefits equally. There was strength in numbers. Apart from being Qin Zhao's family, Alex also had a huge amount of legal resources. This was also the power Qin Zhao needed. So, Qin Zhao had no reason to reject Alex's participation. It was just borrowing money. Apart from depreciating, it had no other use. So, if the bank could borrow money, he could do it too. Portia was already cursing Qin Zhao's monthly income of more than 100 million. She ate her sandwich hatefully, as if she wanted to make Qin Zhao poor. Chapter 1889. Congratulations, boss. You've made a lot of money again. Portia licked her lips as she walked over. He planned to say a few good words and see if he could erase the debt. If you want to borrow money, you can, according to the bank's interest rate. If you want to go back on your word, you can jump into the sea. What do you want to talk to me about? It's fine. Portia decisively turned around and left. Sure enough, he was thinking too much. He was too stupid to talk about money with Qin Zhao. Just then, Portia's phone rang. Portia picked up the phone and handed it to Qin Zhao. Boss, it's a call from Seagate Yachts. Hey, it's Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao took the phone. The person who called was Oliver Lurby. They could be considered old acquaintances. Mr. Qin, the headquarters sent a message saying that the construction of your yacht has begun. The higher-ups would like to invite you to visit the headquarters and check on the progress of the yacht. As an important client of Seagate, the company had also secretly investigated his assets. However, because Mountain Beer wasn't listed, Seagate didn't know his exact assets. But through the bank, they knew that Qin Zhao had some cash. In terms of net worth, let's not talk about the hidden tycoons in this world. He wasn't even in the top 30 on the Forbes list. But in terms of cash, Qin Zhao was definitely in the top 10. Moreover, Qin Zhao's money had entered the bank account openly. This meant that Qin Zhao's money came from a legitimate source. If it was that kind of black money or illegal income, it would not be easy for them to find out. Because of this, the executives of Seagate Yachts wanted to get close to Qin Zhao. I don't have time recently, Qin Zhao said. Mr. Qin, you don't have to reject me so quickly. There's still a long time before the yacht is built anyway. Our company headquarters welcomes you at any time. Okay, if I have time, I'll go. Qin Zhao didn't make any promises. Boss, Italy is quite interesting, especially Rome. There are many scenic spots. Do you want to go? If you want to go, then go. Also, help me check the progress of my yacht construction. I think I'll pass. Portia hurriedly refused. Italy could be said to be a major producer of luxury goods. This country didn't have much else, but it had a lot of luxury brands. Portia didn't dare to imagine whether she would lose her mind if she went to Italy. It was a repeat of what had happened in Tokyo, Japan. When she was in Tokyo, Japan, she had already owed a huge sum of money. If he went to Italy again, he would definitely have to file for bankruptcy. If Qin Zhao wanted to go, she could go with him. But if she went alone, She could probably sell herself in Italy. Ignoring the babbling Portia, Qin Zhao changed into his swimming trunks and went to exercise. At the same time, on the outskirts of the Bright Moon Villa, a man holding an optical telescope stood in the forest on a steep slope. There were two other people standing beside this person. They were the man and woman who had attacked Lily and Yonghua last night. How is it, Deuce? No, we can't barge in. That manor is very dangerous. Deuce shook his head. Even if all of us work together, it won't work? No. Do Sei said with certainty, the master there is very powerful. He is not on the same level as us. The woman who was good at fighting frowned and said, then use that thing. Deuce shook his head again. The holy spear is still unable to unleash its true power. It won't be of any use against an enemy like that. This won't do, that won't do. What should I do? Deuce suddenly put away the telescope. The other two looked at Deuce in surprise. What's wrong? We've been discovered, Deuce said seriously. Let's go. The other two were doubtful about Deuce. However, they still obeyed his order and left. Deuce, we are at least 5 kilometers from the coastline. How can we be discovered? I don't know. Deuce's expression was serious. That Asian is very powerful. Even from so far away, he is still looking in this direction. Qin Zhao had indeed discovered that someone was watching him. However, he had only discovered the exact direction. The person had reacted quickly, also because it was a green mountain and the person was hiding in the forest. Qin Zhao had not been able to capture the person's tracks immediately. Qin Zhao's small world was only 1,000 meters in diameter. The person was hiding more than 1,000 meters away. Qin Zhao could not pinpoint the exact location. If it was within the small world, then anyone who entered would be able to sense it. Qin Zhao could sense their every move. However, the gaze was very unfamiliar. It was probably not someone Qin Zhao knew. Therefore, it was very likely that the person was here for Lily and Yonghua. Deuce, we've proposed a few plans, but you've rejected all of them. What do you think we should do? Spirit Fox, I'm not opposing you on purpose, but it's too risky. I can sense how dangerous that man is. If we choose to attack forcefully, we might incur a fierce counterattack. This is North America. How strong can there be? In the last 2 battles of the Holy Glory, not even a single spiritualist from North America participated. Can this kind of magic desert really produce any strong people? Don't underestimate any region, Deuce said calmly. You never know how many terrifying existences are hidden in the dark. Then what do you think we should do? Spirit Fox asked, dissatisfied. No one can stay in one place forever, Deuce said. That Asian can't, and neither can our target. We just have to wait patiently. I don't like waiting. Deuce looked at the other person. Beast, we don't have to take the risk. However, Beast did not think so. Beast held a long object, wrapped in white cloth in his hand. It looked like some kind of weapon. The white cloth was stained with blood. The holy spear has already sucked the blood of dozens of spiritualists. It can kill anyone now. I don't think we should hold back for an Asian. Deuce glanced at Beast. If you think I'm wrong, you can try. Beast and Deuce looked at Spirit Fox. Spirit Fox hesitated, but in the end, she still chose to support Beast. She was also more inclined to attack directly instead of holding back and running away. Deuce was somewhat disappointed with the two's choices. However, he clearly did not intend to continue persuading them. I hope you won't regret your choices. Deuce turned and left. Spirit Fox and Beast exchanged glances. Beast really wanted to stab Deuce in the back. Chapter 1890. Deuce stopped in his tracks again. Don't try to do anything behind my back. I can see it. I'm also one of the wielder of the Holy Spear, so the Spear of Longinus is useless against me. Deuce was warning the two of them. The Holy Spear wrapped in white cloth in Beast's hand felt warm. Although the Holy Spear was called the Holy Spear, it was more like a demon's weapon. The more blood it sucked, the stronger it became. You better be careful. This holy spear might not be the spear of Longinus. As for whether it has the ability to kill gods, no one can be sure, Deuce warned. With that, Deuce strode away, no longer caring about his two companions. Beast and Spirit Fox looked at each other. The spear of Longinus, the legendary holy spear, the weapon that had stabbed YS and was stained with the blood of gods. It was a coincidence that Beast and Spirit Fox had obtained this weapon. It was as if a mysterious hand had personally delivered the sacred spear into their hands. This holy spear did not belong to any of them. Instead, it was shared among the three of them. However, if one of them gave it up, they would lose the right to own it. Ever since the holy spear fell into their hands, they started killing. The holy spear would tell them who to kill. With each kill, the holy spear's power would increase slightly. In the beginning, the spiritualists they killed were weak, incompetent, and unknown spiritualists. But as time passed, the spiritualists they killed became stronger and stronger. Their power also increased with the growth of the holy spear. In a few years, they had killed dozens of spiritualists. The holy spear had given them different powers. This time, the target that the holy spear wanted them to kill was Lily. Beast and Spirit Fox were both very aggressive. Moreover, as their strength continued to grow, their ambitions were also further increased. But the difference was that Deuce had always been calm. Even if he was constantly gaining power from the holy spear, he still kept his cool. He had hinted to Spirit Fox and Beast many times. This was not the real spear of Longinus. The legendary holy spear would not ask them to kill people continuously. Moreover, most of the people they had killed were not bad people. Some of the spiritualists that they had killed could even be considered good people. But Spirit Fox and Beast still firmly believed that. The spiritualists that they had killed had sins that outsiders did not know about. Killing them was actually putting them on trial. They represented the will of the sacred spear, the will of God. They were the chosen and chosen apostles of God. Of course, most importantly, they were enjoying the extreme pleasure brought by the sacred spear. The kind of power that could easily make people stronger made them unable to stop. As they watched Dose leave, they all sensed the message transmitted by the sacred spear. Deuce was no longer the wielder of the holy spear. Right now, there were only two wielders of the holy lance, Spirit Foxes and wild beasts. The power that had been bestowed upon Dose had also been stripped away. This power was divided among the Spirit Foxes and wild beasts. Once again, the two of them felt an even greater power, although it was one person's power that was split into two. However, after this power fused into their bodies, it made them more than twice as strong as before. The two of them were completely immersed in this power. An irresistible pleasure spread to every corner of their bodies. Their breaths were filled with pleasure. His choice was indeed correct. That was foolish of Deucer. He actually chose to give up his identity as the holder of the sacred spear. As the Spirit Fox and wild beast grew stronger, the two of them became more confident about their next target. As expected, Deuce looked at his hands. It did not feel good to have his power stripped away. Deuce could not get used to this feeling of vanity. However, his choice today was also his first attempt. Compared to the Spirit Fox and wild beast, Deuce was very cautious. He wanted to be sure. If he gave up on the sacred spear, what would happen? He also discovered that after the power was stripped away, his body had clearly appeared on an unknown bed. It seemed that this power had some sort of affinity with his body and soul. If he continued, the sacred spear would give him even more power. Then this power would fuse with his body and soul to a greater extent. At that time, he would no longer be able to escape the control of the sacred spear. At that time, they would no longer be wielders of the spear, but servants of the sacred spear. Those two pitiful fellows, they thought they had picked up a bargain. In fact, they only sped up the process. Deuce had always been suspicious, killing those spiritualists one after another. This could very well be a conspiracy. The sacred spear's origin was too strange. Deuce did not believe that there was such a thing as a free lunch in this world. However, the spirit fox and wild beast still did not believe him. Or rather, they actually had their own suspicions. They just did not want to face this possibility. Deuce did not pity those he had killed before. He just did not want to become a puppet for a weapon. Chen Zhao really isn't feeling well. Go and take a look. Yang came again. Chen Zhao entered Rayleigh's bedroom and immediately felt that her breathing was very unstable. What's wrong with her? Her bloodline seems to be out of control. What if it's out of control? What do you think will happen? You mean she'll lose her mind and attack us randomly? That's right. In other words, I can kill her justifiably. Don't joke around, okay? I asked you to treat her, not to kill her. Chen Zhao walked to Rayleigh's side. Rayleigh lay on the bed. Under her skin, a faint white glow flowed through her blood vessels. Chen Zhao's heart suddenly jumped. Demons hated angelic crystals the most. Would angels also reject demonic crystals? Chen Zhao took out a demonic crystal. As expected, the moment the demonic crystal approached Rayleigh, Rayleigh's body convulsed instantly. She seemed to be in extreme pain, and under her skin, the blood vessels were restored. It seemed to be effective. The aura of the demonic crystal suppressed the angel's power. Of course, it was not accurate to say that it was suppressed. More accurately, it was scared away. Rayleigh's angelic bloodline rejected the aura of the demonic crystal. After the angelic bloodline faded, Rayleigh woke up. What's wrong with me? Rayleigh opened her eyes and looked at Chen Zhao and Yanghua. Chen Zhao used the demonic crystal to approach Rayleigh again. This time, Rayleigh did not reject it. How do you feel about this? Chen Zhao asked. Disgust, Rayleigh said without hesitation. Even though the angelic bloodline had faded, the disgust from the bottom of her heart could not be completely eliminated. Chapter 1891. Rayleigh was under Chen Zhao's protection, but she knew one thing very well. She wouldn't stay here for long. Everything here didn't fit her. Chen Zhao's attitude toward her was also very cold. The atmosphere in Minghua Villa was lively. The children were frolicking on the beach. But none of this had anything to do with her. Chen Zhao lay on the beach and sunbathed. Just then, Wes called. President will leave for the African plains tomorrow. Got it. I'll go there tomorrow. By the way, President, there's another news. What? Last night, another cruise ship sank on the East Coast. Chen Zhao perked up. What's the exact location? The cruise started from Miami and went around the world. Its next stop was Boston, but when it passed longitude 32, 7552, latitude 69, 3554, it suddenly stopped and lost signal. The Coast Guard sent people to investigate and found that half of the cruise had sunk into the sea. It completely sank after 4 hours. No survivors were found nearby. There were 898 crew members and tourists on the cruise. That location should be very close to the Bermuda Sea, right? About 1,300 kilometers, Wes said. Demons did it? It's very likely, Wes said. What's the government's reaction? According to my sources, the higher-ups should be very anxious. After all, 2 cruises have sunk in a month. They've already asked the military to make a statement. What about the psionic team? Chen Zhao asked. President, it won't be that fast, West explained patiently. Not everyone in the upper echelons of the government knows about the existence of the supernatural world, and not everyone has any contact with it. Only a small number of people actually know about it, especially those who are involved in politics. They are not allowed to come into contact with the supernatural world, and they are even forbidden from knowing anything about it. Many things that are reported to them will be treated as terrorist attacks. Right now, the upper echelons of the government believe that the 2 shipwrecks are terrorist attacks, which is why they are reporting it to the military. Only a small portion of the military knows about the supernatural world, so it has to be passed down level by level until it reaches the ears of someone who knows about it or is in charge of it. Then, this person will plan the operation. It's hard to say how long it will take for it to reach the Anti-Terrorism Security Department. Furthermore, this incident happened on the East Coast, so it's not under the jurisdiction of the Anti-Terrorism Security Department. West paused for a moment before adding, "Now, it depends on how strong the government's reaction is, as well as the level of threat from the relevant departments. If it's a high level, then it's very likely that we'll be the ones to take responsibility. After all, we're the department in charge of dealing with supernatural incidents." Given how much Mansari hates the supernatural organization, Chen Zhao said, "He won't allow us to accept such a high-level mission." "That's right," West said. "So my guess is that they'll probably work together. The supernatural organization and the psionic team will work together. If there's trouble, we'll take all the responsibility because we're the official department. They can say that the psionic team is just supporting them, but if they get any results, they'll probably take the fruit. After all, we don't have much say in the higher-ups." Chen Zhao thought about it and said, "Then we'll be more forceful. Either we act on our own, or they do it on their own. President, I think it's acceptable. If they want to work together, we'll do as they wish. Their only request is to accept our command. If they refuse, we'll have a good reason to refuse." To West, there were always two sides to every coin. If they dare to accept our command, their lives will be in our hands. If they refuse our command during the mission, we'll even have the right to punish them. You guys will go to the African plains tomorrow. I'll be the only one there. If the government's order came during this time, Chen Zhao would have to face it alone. Chen Zhao thought about it and hoped that he could do it during this time. It was much more convenient for him to act alone than for the supernatural organization to work together. Plus, he didn't know anything about the situation in Bermuda. The only situation Chen Zhao knew was that there was a big demon inside. As for how strong it was, Chen Zhao couldn't be sure. From the few times he'd interacted with demons from Bermuda, Chen Zhao guessed that the big demon wasn't weak. Chen Zhao vaguely guessed that the demon wasn't weak. And if that great demon strength was close to his, it might not be good for others to come. He didn't even have time to protect them. "Yang, don't you go to work every day?" Yang wasn't used to Chen Zhao calling him that, but at least it was better than Guo-er. Yang was very resistant to being called Guo-er. Yang was very resistant to being called Guo-er. In the whole world, only Zhang Tianyi could call him that. It was not because Yang was willing to accept it, but because Zhang Tianyi did not care about his personal feelings at all. "I'm from Longhu Mountains, North American resident office. I'm responsible for contacting some people. Nothing will happen in a month. I'm envious of people like you who have nothing to do every day, lying down and receiving your salary." Yang glanced at Chen Zhao. "I'm more envious of you. You also lie down every day and earn more than $100 million every month. Do you think I'm happy? What are you unhappy about?" "No, I'm really happy." Yang rolled his eyes. "If you really envy me, then be my henchman. I'll give you twice the salary of Mount Longhu. Then forget it. I'm used to being undisciplined." Even if Yang agreed, Chen Zhao was just asking casually. Chen Zhao didn't even know how to use him. "Does your Mount Longhu have any unique techniques?" "Let me see. Since it's unique, why do you think I can show it to you?" "Hey, old Zhang, your disciple is disobedient. Can I feed him to the sharks?" Seeing that Chen Zhao was going to complain to Zhang Tianyi again, Yang said disapprovingly, "The Grandmaster won't agree either." "Your Grandmaster wants to talk to you." Chen Zhao handed the phone to Yang. Yang glanced at Chen Zhao and took the phone. "Grandmaster, Chen Zhao wants me to show him Mount Longhu's unique technique. I think he wants to learn it secretly. If he wants to see it, then let him. Cut the crap." "But he won't understand," Zhang Tianyi said confidently. Chapter 1892. It was just as Zhang Tianyi had said. Chen Zhao couldn't understand at all, because Chen Zhao didn't follow the Taoist cultivation method, unless Yang Guo told Chen Zhao all the methods. Otherwise, Chen Zhao wouldn't be able to learn it just by demonstration. Chen Zhao wasn't a genius who could learn it just by seeing it once. Zhang Tianyi knew this, and so did Chen Zhao. But Chen Zhao didn't want to learn Dragon Tiger Mountain's unique spells. Instead, he wanted to find some cultivation inspiration or enlightenment from their unique magic arts. What Chen Zhao wanted was not a technique, but an epiphany. Yang Guo returned the phone to Chen Zhao, embarrassed. Chen Zhao, what spell do you want to see? How would I know? As long as you don't teach it to others, just show me. I don't know a lot. I mainly cultivate Taoist spells that are derived from the Yin and Yang twin. What's Yin and Yang twin? My spell is a body refining spell, but I can't achieve Yin and Yang twin. I can only withstand Yin Qi or Yang Qi alone, so I can only use it alone. My normal state is Yang birth, while Yin death will cause me to lose my mind. Every time I use it, it's extremely damaging to my body, so I only use it when the Grandmaster's around, Yang Guo said. Yang Guo said, all of my magic arts are based on the foundation of Yin and Yang. Chen Zhao thought about it. Wasn't this like splitting the God Strike into two parts? Not everyone could cultivate the God Strike. After all, the God Strike used the spiritual qi of heaven and earth and the energy of the universe to temper the body. The magic cultivated from the spiritual qi was Yang Qi, while the energy of the universe was Yin Qi. The Yin-death collision was like absorbing the energy of the universe into the body, but it couldn't achieve Yin and Yang twin. So, the final result was more Yin and less Yang. It was just like the Taoist saying, take what's in excess and make up for what's lacking. It was understandable that the Yin-death state would harm the body. Then, I'll cast the spell in the Yang birth state first. Okay, first, I'll ask for God's decree. I've shown it to you before. Yang Guo took out a yellow talisman. Holding it between his fingers, he chanted, God, please issue a decree. After the yellow talisman turned to ash, the surrounding heaven and earth spiritual energy faintly contained a trace of spiritual light that entered Yang Guo's body. Yang Guo's body was instantly covered by the light. The strength of his body increased a little. Chen Zhao looked at Yang Guo's body. He could feel that Yang Guo had indeed become stronger. However, Chen Zhao could feel the trick to this spell. That talisman should be the key. In fact, the spirit talisman was just a medium, through which the surrounding heaven and earth spiritual qi could be absorbed. The moment the talisman was ignited, the heaven and earth spiritual qi was quickly gathered and attached to the surface of Yang Guo's body. Actually, it was similar to how Chen Zhao channeled the spiritual qi into someone else's body. However, not everyone could control the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Therefore, he needed to use the talisman as a medium, and at the same time combine it with the dermic seal to complete this spell. However, this spell was completely useless against Chen Zhao. First of all, if the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was not transformed into mana and absorbed into the body, it would cause harm to the body. The more he used it, the more he would get hurt. Without Chen Zhao's powerful body, even someone with Zhang Tianyi's cultivation would be injured. For example, Navat Singh had borrowed Chen Zhao's power back then. In the end, he had been lying in the hospital for more than half a month and had only been discharged a few days ago. Therefore, this spell was useless against Chen Zhao. Yang Guo's invocation didn't give Chen Zhao any inspiration either. Continue with the next spell. I'll show you how to borrow power. Yang Guo took a deep breath and his body shook slightly. Chen Zhao realized that Yang Guo's aura had changed. Yang Guo's aura became somewhat ethereal, like dust and smoke. Immediately, Yang Guo's palm slapped toward Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao clearly saw a palm made of smoke land on his chest. However, the palm didn't hurt him at all. Like a gentle breeze, it swept past Qin Zhao and lifted his clothes. Qin Zhao touched his chest. It was a strange feeling. Yang Guo didn't seem to have used a spell just now. He didn't even use any powerful force. However, he could clearly see the wind from his palm. That attack didn't hurt him, but that was also because Yang Guo didn't really attack. Qin Zhao could also send out fist shadows. However, Qin Zhao's fist shadows were created when his strength and speed reached a certain level. It was like the arc of a falling meteor or the light and shadow created by the friction between a falling celestial body and the air. The fist shadows were purely a physical phenomenon. If one didn't have enough strength or speed, they wouldn't be able to get rid of the fist shadows. But Yang Guo's palm wind was so light, yet he could clearly see the palm wind. This confused Qin Zhao. He looked at Yang Guo in confusion. "What's that spell called?" Qin Zhao asked. After a moment of silence, Yang Guo said, "It's called borrowing power." "I think you should call it the melancholic palm," Qin Zhao said. "No, definitely not." Yang Guo seemed to have guessed that Qin Zhao would say that. His reaction was extremely agitated and resistant. Uft, did someone give it this name in the past? Is it that old man Zhang Tianyi? Qin Zhao looked at Yang Guo teasingly. Yang Guo's face darkened. "I don't want to talk to you." "What's the theory behind that?" Qin Zhao asked curiously. "I can't tell you. If you tell me the trick, I'll have our bet last time," Qin Zhao said. Yang Guo hesitated for a moment. He didn't like to listen to others, but he had to abide by the bet. However, he had to abide by the bet. Zhang Tianyi had warned him. However, if he could reject the bet legitimately, it would be a chance for him to be free. Yang Guo looked at Qin Zhao. 1 year. I want our bet to be cancelled." Qin Zhao squinted at Yang Guo and sneered. "Don't forget that you have to listen to me in this 1 year. Even if I don't promise anything, you have to agree to any of my requests." "That's impossible. Why should I teach you Dragon Tiger Mountain's unique spell? Since you're using it to negotiate with me, it means that it's not a unique spell. Most likely, it was found by that old man Zhang Tianyi, just to make you worthy of the name Yang Guo. So don't use it to bargain with me. My request, you have to agree to it whether you want to or not. Not to mention, you can't beat me." Yang Guo was furious, but he couldn't retort. Just as Qin Zhao had said, this was indeed not a unique spell of Dragon Tiger Mountain. "Okay, just accept my requests, and we'll still be good friends." Chapter 1893. Yang Guo sighed dejectedly. He really wanted to say, "I'll kill you." But considering the serious consequences, Yang Guo still chose the words of the ancients. A man knows when to yield and when to stand tall. Not everyone can learn how to borrow power. Don't worry about whether I can learn it or not. Tell me the trick first. Borrowing power is to borrow the power of everything in the world. Everyone can borrow different things. Some people can borrow the power of wild beasts, some can borrow the power of mountains, rivers, and seas, some can borrow the power of wind and clouds, and some can borrow the power of water and fire. Yang Guo waved his hand in front of him. A cloud of mist coiled in his palm, gathering and not dispersing. But in the end, he clenched his fist, and the mist dissipated. Yang Guo looked up and said, "My power is this ethereal mist. It's tangible but not tangible, tangible but boundless." "What power does your power have?" Qin Zhao really couldn't see the power of his power. "I'm using softness to conquer hardness." "Then show me," Qin Zhao said. Annoyed, Yang Guo yelled, "Are you asking me to teach you the trick, or are you just bickering with me?" "Fine, continue." Qin Zhao shrugged. "To learn how to borrow power, you first have to understand what power is," Yang Guo continued. "Everything in the world has power. Living things have it, dead things have it too." With that, Yang Guo bent down and scooped up the surging seawater. This handful of water also has power. With that, Yang Guo returned the seawater to the waves. This wave also has power, this ocean also has power, and this world also has power. That's a bit of a big concept. Does the universe have power? Chen Zhao couldn't help but interrupt. Are you a contrarian? Yang Guo was furious. A good student should be able to deduce many things from one instance. This means that I'm a good student. Shouldn't you be proud to have a good student like me? Piss off. Fine, I won't talk anymore. Continue. There's a Chinese saying, unstoppable, unstoppable. This actually points to the essence, but very few can truly understand it. Yang Guo continued, force isn't unchanging. Force can change at any time and place. However, the secrets and techniques of force can be summarized in 4 words. Mountain of fire. This sentence is from Japan, right? Get lost. This is from Sun Tzu's Art of War. Yang Guo scolded angrily. Swift like the wind, gentle like the forest, aggressive like fire, immovable like a mountain. There are only these 4 types of power in the world. Sun Bin also knows how to practice power. I don't know if Sun Bin has cultivated force, but force was indeed comprehended from Sun Bin's Art of War. What's the most powerful force? Chun Zhao asked. There's no one type of power that is the most powerful. It only depends on how much power you can grasp and use. Yang Guo said, swift as the wind. His movements were as fast as a hurricane. Su Rulin advanced slowly. His troops were as orderly as a dense forest. Invade like fire. Invade and disturb, as fierce as raging fire, unstoppable. Immovable like a mountain. Stationing troops to defend is as solid as a mountain, unshakable. You still haven't told me the most important thing. How do I practice power? Not practice, but comprehension. Comprehension, do you understand? Chen Zhao was most afraid of so-called comprehension. In the past, apart from regular training he'd cultivated, most of the time he'd reached where he was today through his own deductions and predictions. This was completely different from Taoism's so-called comprehension. Comprehension was all about sudden inspiration. It was just that he suddenly understood. This was what Chen Zhao was the worst at. In the past, when Chun Zhao and Old Turtle communicated, Chen Zhao hated it the most. What annoyed Chen Zhao the most was that Old Turtle kept talking to him about the stream of consciousness. What did he mean by "you'll understand in the future," or "you need to figure it out yourself"? How did you practice it? Chen Zhao asked again. Once, I broke the sect rules in the sect and was punished by the Grandmaster. I had to meditate in the tranquil heart hall for 10 days and 10 nights. One night, I saw the smoke rising from the incense in front of the 3 Pure One statues in the tranquil heart hall. Then my understanding of momentum suddenly flashed through my mind. Then I comprehended the momentum of dust and smoke. Yang Guo glanced at Chen Zhao. But not everyone can comprehend force. It requires a lot of talent. Even on Dragon Tiger Mountain, there aren't many people who can comprehend force. Talent? I'm stronger than you. Isn't that enough to prove my talent? Since you can practice it, I can too. Power doesn't mean everything. No, it means everything, Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. With that, Chen Zhao suddenly clenched his fist and swung. A fist shadow tore through the air. The fist shadow landed heavily in the waves more than 20 meters away. There was a huge boom and a huge wave rose into the sky. This was power? Yang Guo was alarmed. No, the fist shadow looked domineering and powerful, but it didn't feel like power. It wasn't power. It was just a magic attack that looked similar. It's useless to scare me. I said that power doesn't mean everything. There are many seniors on Dragon Tiger Mountain who are stronger than me, but there are only a few who can truly comprehend power. Yang Guo still insisted on his point. If you want to comprehend power, you must first understand what your power is. If you can't even find your power, then it's just wishful thinking. Although Chen Zhao sounded tough, he didn't have much confidence. As for Yanggua's words, Qin Zhao still remembered them. Find my power? Is my power the ocean? Qin Zhao turned to look at the ocean. It was turbulent, violent, and boundless. According to Yanggua, power should be ever-changing. But the ocean was the ocean. What did it have to do with power? If it was borrowing the power of the ocean, there was no need for power at all. So, power didn't really represent something or a living thing. My power doesn't represent the ocean either. It's my heart. Only a human's heart would have that kind of ever-changing fluctuation. Using something to represent power was actually a reflection of one's own personality. For example, Yanggua's power was dust and smoke. Yanggua's personality was plain and casual. Qin Zhao was a bit sick of this. It was a good cultivation trick, but it had to be like a stream of consciousness. Wouldn't it be better to just write a paragraph of the trick? Why did he have to make it so mysterious? It would be more troublesome for future generations to cultivate. Qin Zhao thought about it. What was my personality? It seemed to be similar to Yanggua. Was my power also dust and smoke? Qin Zhao closed his eyes and imagined the wisp of smoke in front of the statue. I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything at all. Forget it. That feeling was too mysterious. I'd better imagine something more realistic. Qin Zhao turned to the green mountain behind him. He wanted to see if he could feel the power of the green mountain. Chapter 1894. He didn't feel anything. Qing Shan's aura wasn't his aura either. Qin Zhao looked up at the blue sky again. In the vast and boundless sky, he didn't seem to feel anything. What was his aura? It really wasn't that simple. Qin Zhao didn't even have an accurate concept of aura. He couldn't even comprehend the so-called aura. He wasn't good at these streams of consciousness things. He thought of a problem. Yanggua once said that everything in this world had its own potential. There were living things and dead things. In that case, if someone were to face him, would that person be able to feel the aura from his body? If that was the case, then he had aura. Everything had aura, and he shouldn't be an exception. Was the aura that he had the same as the aura he had comprehended? According to this theory, could it be said that aura was like money? Everything in the world had value. As for those who could comprehend power, it was as if they could obtain money from everything in the world. For example, this person was suitable for this industry, and that person was suitable for that business. The comprehension and cultivation of aura was like the accumulation of capital. According to the theory of capital, no one had to do this business. As long as they were willing, anyone could accept any business. Similarly, everyone could choose the aura they liked. Yanggua, can everyone only comprehend one aura? I've never heard of anyone who can comprehend two auras. You haven't? Or impossible? No, you can only comprehend one aura. But it's like a reflection of your heart, so I don't think a person can comprehend two auras. Is there a price to pay for borrowing aura? Qin Zhao asked. If it's just a little, there's no price, but if you borrow too much, it'll cause serious damage to your body. Qin Zhao thought about it. It wasn't hard to understand. But Qin Zhao still fell into the paradox he'd created. Was there a flaw in the conjecture he had established? Or was there a paradox in Yanggua's words? After thinking about it, Qin Zhao pushed away his previous hypothesis. He reconstructed a new hypothesis. Actually, spiritualists were very similar to mathematicians. When a hypothesis was established, they would try everything to solve it. They would calculate and deduce the hypothesis from all angles to prove it correct. Qin Zhao thought for a long time and thought of another possibility. It was also based on capital theory. His influence was also money, and so was the influence of others. Borrowing someone else's power was like borrowing a credit card. If he only borrowed a small amount of power and returned it in time, then he wouldn't have to pay any price. Moreover, he could enjoy the pleasure of money in advance. If he borrowed too much power, he would not be able to bear it. This was the time to pay the price. It was like borrowing money from a bank. The longer he borrowed, the more he would pay back, plus the interest. Qin Zhao's thoughts became clearer and clearer. Was his own power equivalent to his own power? No. Chen Zhao suddenly thought of possibility. How could people borrow power from each other? This kind of borrowing power was very much like the relationship between God and his believers. Believers believed in God, and God lent them strength. Forget it. I still can't completely clear my thoughts. Chen Zhao shook his head and temporarily gave up. Not only did he fail to comprehend it, he even created a new problem. It seemed that borrowing power was not as simple as he had imagined. How about it? Have you given up? Seeing Chen Zhao's gaze, Yangguo's face was filled with pride. I told you, not everyone can understand it. It's a wise choice for you to give up. Chen Zhao glanced at Yangguo. How long did you use to comprehend borrowing power? Half a month. You used half a month. Before today, I didn't even know what power was. Why do you think I gave up? Why do you think I can't comprehend it? Chen Zhao admitted that borrowing power was not as easy as he had imagined, but it did not mean that he would give up. He only planned to wait until the night was quiet and his heart had calmed down before entering the river diagram to comprehend it. Cultivators of all religions like to go into seclusion. Why did he go into seclusion? It was because seclusion could calm their hearts. Chen Zhao did not plan on giving up so easily. Moreover, he still had a killer weapon, the river diagram. If one day was not enough, then he would do 10. If 10 wasn't enough, then he would do 100. If 100 wasn't enough, then he would do 1,000. Chen Zhao did not believe that he could use 10, 100, or even 1,000 times the time of others to comprehend it. He could not comprehend borrowing power either. At night, this time, Chen Zhao did not fly into the sky to practice. Instead, he entered the river diagram directly. The river diagram was still as beautiful as before. The scenery was as lively as before. But Chen Zhao felt that something was missing. He had not entered the river diagram for a long time. Ever since Old Turtle had ascended to immortality, he had not entered. Things were the same now, but people had changed. The river diagram was still the same, but his old friend was gone. Of course, Chen Zhao was not the kind of person to be sentimental. Although some longing rose in his heart, Chen Zhao's mind had recovered. Chen Zhao began to comprehend and cultivate. Chen Zhao had always wondered if the river diagram was an alternate space or the entrance to a real world. If it was an alternate space, then the river diagram was too big. The space inside the river diagram could even contain Earth and still have some spare space. Therefore, this place should not have anything to do with Earth. Another thing was the time here. An hour had passed outside, but only 3 seconds had passed here. Time was a very special power. Chen Zhao did not even know if time counted as a power. Chen Zhao also knew a lot of powerful people, but Chen Zhao had never heard of anyone who could control time. But Nuwa, an ancient god, could create a world with a completely different flow of time. In any case, this ability was many times stronger than Chen Zhao's. Nevertheless, Nuwa's power was not something Chen Zhao could guess right now. Of course, this also gave Chen Zhao motivation. He could not compare to the ancient god. At least he had a goal to pursue. He was far from the level of a god. He still had a lot of room for improvement. Right now, Chen Zhao's focus was still on borrowing power. If he wanted to borrow someone else's power, he first had to understand where his own power was. It wasn't his own power, nor was it his own magic. Chen Zhao raised his power to the maximum and used all his trump cards. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, this was indeed not easy to comprehend. Chen Zhao racked his brains, but still had no idea. Chapter 1895. Chen Zhao had been sitting where he was for 3 days and 3 nights. Chen Zhao had been guessing what the so-called influence was, but each guess was raised again and again. He denied himself again and again. First, influence is related to a person's personality, Chen Zhao muttered to himself. Second, it's affected by emotions. What was related to a person's personality and could be affected by emotions? Spiritual power? Chun Zhao thought about it. Was it spiritual power? However, not everything had mental energy. Chun Zhao suddenly stood up from the ground. No, it wasn't that he didn't have any spiritual power at all. Apart from humans, other things could become demons and gain intelligence. Before transforming into a demon, they would develop intelligence. Even if it was a brush or a blade of grass, it could develop intelligence. So these things had spiritual power too. If this guess was correct, it was definitely related to spiritual power. But it wasn't pure spiritual power. Chun Zhao had activated 3 keys now. A golden key, a spectral key, and a red key. The spectral key could absorb the souls of enemies of a similar nature. Chun Zhao had absorbed a black dragon's soul before, so his spiritual power was much stronger than normal people's. But Chun Zhao didn't feel anything special about spiritual power. Spiritual power wasn't completely useless to Chun Zhao, but it wasn't very useful to Chun Zhao. First of all, strong spiritual power could increase one's resistance to spiritual spells and illusions, but strong magic could do the same. Also, when he cast spiritual spells, they would be much more powerful. But for this problem, it was the same as the former. The effect of strong magic was more obvious. Moreover, Chun Zhao knew very few spiritual spells. His best spells were Fall to Hell and Banshee's Charm. He could only use them a few times. In an intense battle, spiritual spells couldn't be used much. So, strong spiritual power was useless to Chun Zhao. It was tasteless, but it was a pity to throw it away. But now, if this guess was correct, then spiritual power wouldn't be useless anymore. Chun Zhao slowly rose into the air and looked down at the ground. Below him were green mountains and ethereal clouds. How could he use spiritual power to turn it into influence? Chun Zhao spread his spiritual power out. He mixed in celestial power to see if there would be any changes. Chun Zhao tried, but there was no reaction. His mental energy and immortal energy did not fuse, nor did they reject each other. The two of them were clearly separated, and there was no reaction from each other. Let's try the spiritual chi of heaven and earth again. It was still the same, there was still no reaction. It was not magic power, nor was it spiritual energy. Chun Zhao closed his eyes, and his spiritual power continued to spread out. Soon, Chun Zhao's spiritual power covered the entire small world. Just then, the earth, mountains, plants, rivers, and the clouds in the sky seemed to gather toward Chun Zhao's mind. Chun Zhao observed the things that gathered. A dark yellow air current rose from the ground. A green air current rose from the trees, and a blue air current rose from the river. There was also the white stream of air produced by the floating clouds. Chun Zhao clapped his hands. I understand now. After the colorful air currents gathered, they formed a colorful rainbow-shaped ring above Chun Zhao's head and spread out in circles. Above his head hung a ring of rainbow, like the halo of an angel. Chun Zhao looked up at the halo above his head. He felt a bit sick of it. If he added a pair of wings now, he could disguise himself as an angel. At the same time, Chun Zhao felt everything around him giving him power. It was as if everything was becoming his body. As long as Chun Zhao could bear it, there was no limit to this power. Chun Zhao's mental energy spread in the small world. It was like an amplified signal station, filled with magnetism. It kept sending out some kind of signal, or rather, some kind of rule. Everything within a 10-kilometer radius seemed to be covered by Chun Zhao's mental energy signal. This power absorbed from the mountains, rivers, and everything in nature completely fused into Chun Zhao's body. It also did not conflict with Chun Zhao's yin-yang fish at all. Chun Zhao felt as if this power was his own. So, this was how Yonggua felt when he used borrowing power. Chun Zhao took a deep breath and pressed his palm down from above. Instantly, Chun Zhao's power merged with the power of the world. A huge palm pressed down like a Buddha's hand. The palm seemed to be real. It was almost 100 meters long. It fell from hundreds of meters in the sky and slammed into the mountain below. With a loud boom, a huge palm print was left on the slope of the mountain. The plants covered by the palm were completely destroyed. "Damn, this move is awesome!" Chen Zhao couldn't help but exclaim. The power of the world was even stronger than the fist shadows he'd developed earlier. Just then, Chen Zhao felt his right arm go numb and itchy. Chen Zhao reached out and scratched. With this, he realized that the fifth pristine eyeball on his right arm had opened. Chen Zhao removed the tube. As expected, the fifth pristine eyeball had opened. The fifth pristine eyeball was absorbing the power of the world in Chen Zhao's body. It had the same function as the fourth eye of the thunder, but the type of power it absorbed was different. Then the fifth pristine eyeball would be called the eye of the world. In short, it was snobbish. After the eye of the general trend absorbed enough of the great trend of heaven and earth, it closed. The power of the world in Chen Zhao's body was still full. Chen Zhao returned the power of the world. The rainbow halo above his head also dissipated. Eye of the world, open. Chen Zhao tried twice and finally succeeded in opening the eye of the world. Once the eye of the world opened, it started pouring the power of the world into Chen Zhao. The amount of power stored in the eye of the world was the same as what Chen Zhao could handle himself. This meant that Chen Zhao didn't need to specially absorb the power of the world around him. If he needed it, he could open the eye of the world and absorb the power of the world from it. The eye of the world could replenish itself. This was different from the eye of the thunder. However, this was because they absorbed different things. The eye of the thunder absorbed lightning. Chen Zhao had to wait for a thunderstorm or run into the high-voltage electric laboratory himself. Otherwise, the eye of the thunder wouldn't be able to absorb it. The eye of the world was different. As long as it was in this world, Chen Zhao could absorb endless power of the world. Chen Zhao started trying the power of the world and the eye of the world again and again. He tried to integrate the power of the world with himself. Chapter 1896. Under the power of the world, Chen Zhao's fist shadows became even stronger. If the fist shadows from before were purely physical attacks, then, after the fist shadow was strengthened by the power of heaven and earth, it had an enchantment effect. However, there was one thing, and that was that the consumption of the worldly power far exceeded the absorption. Even with the help of the eye of the general trend, his absorption speed was only twice as fast as usual. At the same time, their reserves doubled. Chen Zhao had predicted that if he went all out, he would not be able to escape. It would take about an hour for him and the eye of the general trend to completely unleash the world's momentum. In other words, he could only maintain this all-out state for an hour at most. Chen Zhao's physical body did not become stronger after using the power of the world. His strength and speed increased, but there were no qualitative changes. Power of the heavens and earth increased the effect of enchantments. Chen Zhao stayed in the river map for around 3 months before leaving. To the outside world, only 2 hours had passed. Portia was startled. She had thought that Chen Zhao wasn't home, so she asked the kids. The kids didn't know where Chen Zhao had gone either. In the end, Chen Zhao appeared out of nowhere. "Boss, where did you come from? You didn't even say anything. You scared me to death. This is my home. Do I have to report to you where I go?" Chen Zhao rubbed his shoulder. Just then, Yangguo walked in. When he saw Chen Zhao, he was stunned. Strange, Chen Zhao's aura seemed to have changed after not seeing him for a while, and it became very strange. "Xiaoyang, I have something to talk to you about. Let's talk outside." Yang Guo followed Chen Zhao to the front yard. Yang Guo stared at him. "You look different from before." Chen Zhao opened his right palm. An invisible force gathered in his palm. Yang Guo's pupils constricted. That familiar yet strange aura. "Force?" Yang Guo stared at Chen Zhao in shock. "You succeeded? How could this be? How did you do it?" Yang Guo's face was filled with disbelief. Previously, He had thought that Chen Zhao couldn't understand borrowing power. At the very least, it wouldn't be that easy to comprehend. However, only 2 hours had passed. Chen Zhao succeeded. Chen Zhao's injuries were clearly different from his. "What does your power represent?" Yang Guo asked. "This is what I wanted to ask you. I seem to be able to absorb all kinds of forces," Chen Zhao said. "Mountains, rivers, living beings, oceans, the world." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure." A colorful ball formed in Chen Zhao's palm. Yang Guo looked at him. "Do you want to know what your power represents?" "Of course." "Do you want to hear an awesome name?" "Is my power that awesome?" "I don't know. I've never seen it before." "Then what did you mean before?" "It means that if you want an awesome name, you can think of one yourself. Everyone's power is different, but generally speaking, they can't escape the 4 forms of wind, forest, fire." "What a waste of my feelings." Chen Zhao pouted. Chen Zhao glanced at Yang Guo. "Will there be any special changes when you use force?" "Change? What kind of change?" Yang Guo asked. "Is it the change in mana or the change in the body? For example, a phenomenon." "Phenomenon? I don't understand. Maybe your force is special. Why don't you demonstrate?" "Forget it. I'll study it myself." When Chen Zhao absorbed the surrounding force with all his strength, a rainbow halo would appear above his head. Chen Zhao felt awkward, but he didn't want to show it to others easily. "Don't go. Why are you like this? You stopped halfway. Are you trying to make things difficult for me?" Yang Guo was furious. He could tell from Chen Zhao's tone that something special would happen when he used force. Yang Guo was curious about what was so special about Chen Zhao's force. However, Chen Zhao didn't care about his feelings. This made Yang Guo furious. "I'm the one who taught you this. You should at least show some respect for your teacher. Talk to me when you can beat me." Chen Zhao rolled his eyes at Yang Guo. "No matter what I taught you, it's not too much for you to pay me back with interest." "Interest? I used half a year to control you for this. Are you sure you want to ask for interest?" "Forget it, forget it. You're so boring." Yang Guo fled with his tail between his legs. "Wait." Chen Zhao suddenly stopped Yang Guo. "What?" "The enemies who want to kill you and that mixed blood woman are nearby," Chen Zhao said. "Where?" "Halfway up the mountain beside the highway. Why don't you do anything?" "They didn't enter my territory." "That's the border of your territory, right?" "You know it's the border. That means they're not in my territory yet. So you're just going to let them keep watching." "I don't mind. They're not watching me anyway. Grandmaster hired you to protect us." "No, not to protect you. I'm protecting you. Is there a difference?" "I think there is. Protecting you is to be your bodyguard. Protecting you is to give you a place to stay. But there's a time limit to your protection. If you want to extend the time, you can pay a price." "What do you want?" "For example, unique spells and the like." Yang Guo didn't even think about it and directly refused. Chen Zhao could learn how to borrow power in a short 2 to 3 hours. He was definitely very talented. Plus, they were about the same age. He was far more powerful than Chen Zhao, even among his peers in Dragon Tiger Mountain. Perhaps no one would be able to match him. He was definitely a 1 in a million genius. Yang Guo didn't understand that any peerless master in the world, they weren't the most talented among their peers. Their strength was often due to personal luck. Chen Zhao was that kind of person. Chen Zhao had only been in contact with supernatural powers for a short time. It had only been a little more than 2 years. Chen Zhao's talent wasn't very powerful either. He didn't have the charisma to say that his life was up to him. Even Chen Zhao's own training was haphazard. It wasn't a complete system on the whole. But Chen Zhao's cultivation was extremely solid. Of course, Chen Zhao could have his current strength. It was also related to his way of thinking. Most of the time, Chen Zhao didn't use metaphysical methods to understand cultivation. Instead, he used scientific methods to understand and comprehend. Yang Gu didn't understand. He was still too young. He felt that powerful strength was supported by powerful talent. Dragon Tiger Mount made him, but it also restricted him. Qin Zhao, on the other hand, had walked a unique path. Chapter 1897. Mr. Faxben, what have you been doing for the past 2 days? Xian Li realized that Ruan Faxi had been locking himself in his room for the past 2 days. Xian Li had originally asked Lisa, an MO heir, to take a look. Did something happen to Ruan Faxben? But the two of them were too lazy to care. They always said that nothing would happen to Ruan Faxi. Ruan Faxben finally came out of his room today. However, his face was haggard and his eyes were lifeless. It's all your uncle's fault, Ruan complained. I've been working outside, and he insisted that I create a magic tool. Ruan Faxi could only craft magic tools for 48 hours straight, without sleep. Maybe Uncle needs it urgently. Xian Li couldn't blame Qin Zhao, who she respected. She instinctively found an excuse for her uncle. This is used to suppress one's aura. Your uncle only needs this thing when he unleashes his full strength. In North America, no one really needs him to unleash his full strength, so this magic tool is not in a hurry. The magic tool itself was not a very complicated magic tool. However, it was troublesome, and there was a certain degree of difficulty in some of the detailed steps. Are you ready, Mr. Farceburn? It's done. I'll go out for a while and send this to your uncle, Ruan said. Mr. Faxben, let me help you. You can have a good rest today. Well, all right. Ruan Faxi was happy to relax and handed the ring-shaped magic item to Xian Li took the ring and left the hotel. At this moment, Xian Li's shoulder was bumped by someone who was coming towards her. Xian Li looked up, subconsciously. I'm sorry. The man who bumped into her shoulder was wearing a hood. He turned around and glared at Xian Li. Be careful when you walk. After the man left, Xian Li stuck out her tongue. At this moment, the receptionist at the entrance of the hotel walked over and patted Xian Li's shoulder. Miss, your things were stolen by that guy. The greeter was obviously a local and knew some of the gangsters and scoundrels here. However, he was also very careful. After the man left, he walked over to remind Xian. Xian Li was stunned for a moment. Then she left and searched her body. His wallet, phone, and the ring were gone. Oh no! Xian Li anxiously chased after the man who had left. Stop right there. The man broke into a run. Xian Li was not slow at all. She was a spiritualist to begin with, so her physique was stronger than that of ordinary people. Moreover, when they were at Mingyue Villa, Chen Zhao would give her all sorts of supplements every now and then. Therefore, her physique was much better than that of ordinary spiritualists. However, the thief was also a local bully, so he was not slow to begin with. In addition, he was familiar with the local terrain. Xian Li was unable to catch up immediately, climb over a wall, jump over a barricade, or crawl into a building. All of these made Xian Li feel strained and troubled. Fortunately, Xian Li's stamina was good. Even if she had to run a long distance, she was still able to keep up with him. After running for a while, the thief also felt a little tired. He originally thought that as long as he persisted for a while, the little girl behind him would be left behind. The result was beyond his expectations. That little girl was really good at running. The thief gritted his teeth and finally stopped. He turned around and saw Xian Li chasing after him. Little girl, do you want to die? Looking at the vicious thief in front of her, Xian Li remained calm. No matter how vicious the thief was, he was just an ordinary person. But she was a spiritualist and a curse witch. Give it back to me, or I won't go easy on you. Fuck off, or I'll kill you. The thief took out a dagger and slashed it in the air, staring at Xian Li fiercely. Seeing that the thief was unwilling to give it back, Xian Li had no choice but to attack. Staring at the thief, Xian Li chanted a silent spell. A red thread drilled into the thief's body. The thief did not notice it at all. The thief's breathing became heavier and heavier. He panted heavily. For some reason, he had already stopped. But the thief felt his body getting heavier and his breathing became more difficult. It was as if he had run a marathon. Xian Li saw that her weakened spell did not seem to be very effective on the thief. Weaken would weaken the opponent's physique to a certain extent. However, the stronger the physique, the weaker it would be. Of course, this was also because Xian Li did not use her full strength. Seems like I went too easy on him, Xian Li thought. Xian Li used Weaken again. This time it was 5 times stronger. Weaken wasn't fatal. Even the most serious Weaken spell would only need to lie in bed for a few days to recover. The thief suddenly felt his legs turn to jelly. He could not even stand. With a thud, he fell to the ground. The thief opened his eyes and watched as Xian Li walked to him. She took out the things he had just stolen. Xian Li found her wallet, ring, and phone that had been stolen. Xian Li looked at the thief on the ground with a sense of pleasure. She kicked the thief. I'll let you go this time. Xian Li was still soft-hearted. If it was someone else from the supernatural organization, one kick would probably make him bedridden for 3 to 5 months. Just then, a cold light shot down from above. Xian Li's heart froze. She realized the danger, but her body could not react in such a short time. Xian Li tried her best to move away, but the cold light had already pierced her chest. Wah! Xian Li took 2 steps back and spat out a mouthful of blood. Just then, a pale-faced man jumped down from the balcony of a house not far away. The pale-faced man stopped a few meters in front of Xian Li. Do you know where this is? This is Blackford, my territory. All spiritualists have to follow my rules here. But you dared to use magic on my people. The pale-faced man raised the gun in his hand. The gun was made of gold. The man stuffed a golden bullet into it. Normal people did not know. Only spiritualists did. Gold had a very powerful anti-magic effect. The golden bullet the man used was specially made to deal with spiritualists. Xian Li's face was also very pale. This guy stole my things. I just wanted to take them back. He's my subordinate, the pale-faced man said coldly. The pale-faced man said coldly. Moreover, a spiritualist actually had something stolen by an ordinary person. That can only mean that your ability is inferior. You're unreasonable. Xian Li's face showed an unusual redness. Blood rushed to her head, and she spat out another mouthful of blood. Give me the things and get out of my territory. Chapter 1898. Xian Li knew she couldn't win. She turned around and tried to run, but she couldn't outrun bullets. In a flash, Xian Li's calf was pierced by a golden bullet. With a thud, he rolled on the ground. The pale-faced man took the things Xian Li had just found, ignoring her on the ground. He pulled the thief up and left. Xian Li was just a little girl. She couldn't take it. She didn't make a sound. Her face was covered in tears. She climbed up with difficulty and limped back. Back at the entrance of the hotel, the receptionist saw Xian Li with tears on her face and blood all over her body. She immediately knew something was wrong and ran over to help Xian. Xian Li finally couldn't hold back her tears any longer and burst into tears. When Ruan, Fax, Ben, Lisa, Moore, and Kalon learned that Xian Li was injured, they all exploded. Xian Li's injury wasn't light. They quickly sent her to the hospital. In England, gangs had always been a problem in every city. Everyone asked Xian Li, but she didn't say anything. She just cried. They only learned some things from the receptionist, but they didn't believe a thief could hurt Xian Li. 2 golden bullets were taken from Xian Li's body. Was that something a thief could use? Clearly, the thief knew Xian Li was a spiritualist and purposely attacked her with the golden bullets. Everyone's faces were ugly as they stood outside Xian Li's ward. Xian Li cried until she was tired and fell asleep. She was just a little girl. Her mental endurance wasn't high. Now that she suffered like this, it was easy to imagine how depressed she was. What do we do now? Kalon asked. He didn't know what to do either. Ask the old vampire, Lisa said. We're unfamiliar with this place and don't have any clues, but the old vampire definitely knows. Since he used golden bullets, he's definitely not a low-profile person. It's the right choice to ask him. The key is, how do we tell the president? Ruan Faxben said worriedly. If the president knows what happened here, he'll skin us alive. That's why we have to solve this as soon as possible. We need to find the person first, and then calm Exionly down. Lisa was also terrified. I'll call the old vampire. Ruan Faxburn took out his phone and dialed Nag Randvegrus's number. My Lord Earl, my companion was attacked in Edinburgh. I want to know if there is anyone in Edinburgh who uses golden bullets. Golden bullet? On the other end of the phone, Nag Randvegrus raised an eyebrow. I don't know him, Nag Randvegrus said. Ruan Faxi made a judgment based on the hesitation in his reply and the tone of his voice. He knew that the other party knew him, and they might even be related to each other. My lord, I'm sincere, so I hope you can tell us the truth. Ruan tried his best to control himself. I said I don't know him. Besides, I have no obligation to help you. Nag Randvegrus said matter-of-factly. When Ruan Faxben mentioned the golden bullet, Nag Randvegrus knew who they were looking for. That was one of his 7 descendants, Pero Vidal. That was a descendant who had accompanied him for 100 years. To Nag Randvegrus, all 7 of them were his children. He couldn't betray his children for a group of outsiders. If that's the case, we can only look for him ourselves. Ruan Faxi's face was livid, and his tone became tough. This is Edinburgh, my territory. I won't allow outsiders to mess around here. But my man was injured here. Then you can only blame yourself for not protecting him well enough, Nag Randvegrus said disapprovingly. Nag Randvegrus, are you testing the bottom line of our tolerance? Ruan Faxburn's tone was heavy. At this time, he was too lazy to pretend to call Nag Randvegrus Lord Earl. He directly called him by his name. Ha! You came to my territory to provoke me, and then you tell me I'm testing your tolerance limit? Don't you all think too highly of yourselves? Nag Randvegrus, can I assume that the attacker is related to you, and you're the one who ordered the attacker? Ruan Faxben asked coldly. If that's what you want to think, then there's nothing I can do. Nag Randvegrus wasn't affected by Ruan Faxi's threat. Due to your attitude, our cooperation ends here. You'd better leave Edinburgh, or I won't go easy on you. It's impossible to leave. You'd better prepare yourself. We'll go find you, Ruan Faxi said angrily. You want to start a war? As you wish. Nag Randvegrus obviously wouldn't back down now. Since he'd already said it, there was no point in saying anything more. Both sides hung up the phone angrily. Ruan Faxibin said, The battle has begun. War? Although Raisa didn't hear Nag Randvegrus's words, she could roughly guess the situation from Ruan Faxibin's conversation and his tone of voice. Kalon, stay here and protect Exenly. We'll go find the old vampire to settle the score, Ruan Faxi said. I don't want to. I want to join, Kalon immediately shouted. This was the first time he'd been involved in a battle since he became a spiritualist. He wasn't willing to give up. He wanted to participate. Then who's going to protect Exenly? Lisa glanced at Colin. If we start a war with that old vampire, he's likely to attack Exenly again. What if she gets hurt without anyone protecting her? You can stay here and protect Exenly, Kalon retorted. We're going to kill. Lisa's gaze was cold. Do you dare to kill? I. Kalon finally realized. The battle they'd imagined wasn't the same thing at all. Ruan, Faxi, Lisa, and even more weren't going to fight. They were going to kill. They weren't joking. The 3 in front of them weren't good people. They were all people who had experienced real battlefields. Ruan Faxi patted Colin's shoulder. Colin, you should stay. You definitely don't want to see what we plan to do. Colin finally nodded and didn't say anything. The three of them weren't the kind of people who could swallow insults. Even Moore, who usually looked like a good kid, had the bloodiest fighting style. Chapter 1899. Li Peiluo, did you attack a girl? Father. Li Peiluo Weeder was stunned. Do you know that girl? That's a problem, Nagrand Vagris said. Father, I'll deal with it myself, Li Peiluo Weeder said. Li Peiluo Weeder understood his father. When he thought it was real trouble. Bring your trusted men and all your weapons to my castle. All weapons? All weapons, Nagrand Vagris said seriously. Nagrand Vagris said solemnly, also inform your other brothers to join the battle. Nagrand Vagris divided Edinburgh into 7 parts, and each descendant received a share. This was why he could control the entire city. Although Nagrand Vagris was a vampire, his control over Edinburgh was similar to the Black Hand's family-style operation. Then the children all called to ask about the situation. Nagrand Vagris told the children the truth. Nagrand Vagris didn't dare to be careless. After all, he had the ability to kill a 2-headed ogre deep in the mountains. Of course, this didn't mean Nagrand Vagris would back down. This was Edinburgh, his home turf. Earl, there's a group of people outside. They say they're your children, Nala El said as she walked in front of Nagrand Vagris. Yes, Li Peiluo is here. Let him in. Nagrand Vagris nodded. Oh, I'll give you a day off. Go back first. Boss, I don't need a day off. That's your problem. You can go, Nagrand Vagris said with an unquestionable tone. Nala El could only turn and leave. Just then, Li Peiluo Weeder walked over with his men. Nala El glanced at Li Peiluo Weeder. She didn't know the relationship between Li Peiluo Weeder and Nagrand Vagris, but they definitely weren't father and son. Nagrand Vagris looked like he was only in his 30s. Li Peiluo Weeder looked to be in his 20s. No matter how she looked at them, they couldn't be father and son. Moreover, if they were father and son, why did this person bring so many people here? Li Peiluo Weeder glanced at Nala. El Nala deliberately slowed down her pace and looked back. Pero Weeder entered Nagrand Vagris' room. At this moment, Nagrand Vagris walked to the door, looked at Nala El outside, and closed the door. Nala El saw Nagrand Vagris' actions and could only continue to leave. But at this moment, another group of people arrived. She was a voluptuous, sexy woman, with her hands in her pockets, walking like a cat and chewing bubblegum. This woman was followed by more than 10 other women. When the woman passed by Nala El, she stopped. Is my father here? Father? You mean Count Vagris? He's in that room. Nala was even more curious. She had never heard that he had a child before. But today, 2 people actually appeared. Nala watched as the sexy woman brought a group of women into the room. After that, 7 groups of people actually came. Nala had never seen so many people come to Death Valley Castle. It had never been so lively. There were at least 100 people here. In Death Valley Castle, there were usually only Nagrand Vagris and Nala Iyer. Nala suspected that something big was about to happen. Nala deliberately slowed down her pace. When she arrived at the castle gate, half an hour had passed. She wanted to see if there would be more people coming. Nala El waited at the gate for more than 10 minutes. It seemed like no one else would come, she thought. But at this moment, another car came over. But this time, there weren't many people. There was only a small car. When the car arrived at the castle gate, 3 people got out. She knew these 3 people. No, she didn't know them. To be precise, she had only seen them before. The 3 of them had been here twice before. Hi, Miss Nala. You're here for the Count? Yes, we're here for Nagrand Vagris. I'll take you to see the Count. Nala El was still worried about not having an excuse to go back. Just then, the 3 people arrived. Nala brought the three of them to the door. Knock, knock, come in. Nala brought the three of them into the room. At this moment, more than 100 people were standing around. Among them, the 7 leaders were sitting beside Nagrand Vagris. Nala realized that when she came in, the atmosphere changed. The originally slightly noisy room instantly quietened down. Everyone shut their mouths and stared at Ruan, Faxben, Lisa, and more. Nala, didn't I say that today is your business? You can go back first, Nagrand Vagris said. Oh, Nala thought they were doing something. Unfortunately, Nagrand Vagris chased him away. You 3 are really bold. You threatened to start a war with me. Why? Can't find anyone? Nagrand Vagris looked down at the 3 uninvited guests, his tone somewhat disdainful. Do you think you have the right to make us fight? Ruan Faxben looked at everyone in the room. In the end, his gaze landed on Nagrand Vagris. You think 100 or so people aren't enough. Nagrand Vagris waved his hand. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just then, everyone raised their guns and pointed at Ruan, Faxben, Lisa, and more. The 100 or so people present were all those who had undergone vampire conversion rituals. However, their rituals were incomplete, so the vampire bloodline was very thin. Only Nagrand Vagris and his 7 children were true vampires. These 100+ people all knew that they could be considered half of the spiritualists. Not enough, Ruan Faxben said indifferently. Both Lisa and Moore were ready for a fight. Looks like you want to die. I'll fulfill your wish. Just then, Nagrand Vagris's phone rang. To be precise, the ringtone wasn't his own phone. Li Pelua Weeder had given it to him after snatching it from Exan Li. Hey, Exan Li. Chun Zhao's voice came over the phone. Did you forget to call me today? Chapter 1900. Nagrand Vagris listened to the man on the phone muttering to himself. Then he hung up. Qin Zhao saw that the call had been hung up. He dialed Exan Li's number again. Exan Li, is it inconvenient for you to talk? Are you being held hostage? Is someone beside you? Qin Zhao started to use his imagination. Nagrand Vagris silently hung up the phone again. This time, Qin Zhao didn't call Exan Li. Instead, he called Ruan Fashabin. When Ruan Fashabin saw the caller ID, a thought suddenly popped up in his head. I'm done for. In the instant that the call connected, Ruan Fashabin could almost feel the flames of anger erupting from the phone. Ruan, where's Exan Li? What happened to her? President, something happened to Exe. We're solving the problem now. Ruan Fashabin's expression was very ugly. Why didn't Exan Li say anything just now? She can't say anything? Is she seriously injured? Or is she being held hostage? She's injured. She's in the hospital. Her phone was stolen. We're negotiating with them now. Negotiating? Fight. Ruan Fashabin could only say honestly. Turn on the locator. Ruan Fashabin's expression was somewhat stiff. He turned to look at Lisa and more. Finally, he looked at Nagrand Vagris. Big trouble is coming. My blood family and I are never afraid of trouble, Nagrand Vagris said expressionlessly. You should be afraid. Hand over the murderer, and this will end here. Ruan Fashabin's tone became urgent. Don't even think about it. Nagrand Vagris was still determined. Do it, Ruan Fashabin shouted. Do it. Nagrand Vagris gave the order at this moment. All of Nagrand Vagris's blood family members opened fire, but there were no flames bursting out of their guns. A bright red energy ball gathered in Reese's palm. This energy ball was full of destructive energy. It's useless to use firearms in front of me. To be precise, these lightweight firearms were useless against Lisa. Nowadays, guns filled the cartridge with gunpowder. The firing pin would cause an explosion and push the bullet out. But Lisa could absorb heat from the environment. Therefore, the guns in their hands were equivalent to scrap metal. It wasn't just the heat emitted by the guns in their hands. Even the temperature in the air had dropped. Lisa casually threw the energy ball in her hand. Dodge! Nagrand Vagris shouted. The energy ball then exploded violently. 4 or 5 vampires were affected and instantly engulfed in flames. Nagrand Vagris was instantly engulfed in anger when he saw his kin being killed. A relative threw himself at Reisa. A shockwave burst out from Lisa's hand. The relative was sent flying by the shockwave. Ruan Faxben and more were still standing behind him. They had no intention of making a move. Lisa could control the situation here by herself. Another vampire was sent flying by the shockwave. However, this didn't stop the other vampires from moving forward. More vampires' dependents surrounded Rissa. Reisa placed her palms on the ground, and the shockwave hit the ground, causing it to collapse instantly. Then, all the vampires around her were sent flying by the shockwave. The room that was originally on the castle tower collapsed because of Reisa's shockwave. Everyone was sent to the lower floor. Nagrand Vagris saw that a little girl was so difficult to deal with. He couldn't help but feel a little solemn. However, this wasn't the time for him to retreat. Nagrand Vagris personally entered the fray. Nagrand Vagris stretched out his arm and pointed at Reisa. A ball of blood seeped out from his arm. A ball of blood shot at Reisa. The blood suddenly spread out and enveloped Reisa. Reisa shouted softly, and a shockwave rippled out from her body. Reisa's thermal shockwave wasn't something that could be released with just her hands. The ball of blood was blasted apart. However, the scattered blood turned back and shot at Reisa again. Reisa wasn't good at dealing with this kind of attack. Her fighting style was to attack, not defend. So, under this concentrated attack, she seemed a little flustered. Reisa gave up defending and let the blood droplets hit her body. At this moment, Reisa pointed her palms at Nagrand Vagris. Boom! Nagrand Vagris was sent flying by the shockwave. Nagrand Vagris didn't expect Reisa to be so difficult to deal with. He actually didn't get the upper hand in the first round. Reisa, how's it going? Ruan Faxben asked. Reisa was slightly injured, but it wasn't serious. Ruan Faxben handed Reisa a bottle of medicine. It's my turn, Moore said, walking up. Huh? Nala El walked to the door. Suddenly, she saw flames shoot out of a window on the castle tower. Her heart skipped a beat. What happened? Did something happen? Nala El didn't know what to do. Just as she was hesitating, she suddenly felt a shadow appear behind her. Nala El turned around and saw a strange Asian man standing behind her. When did this man come? You, Nala El was about to ask. The man ignored Nala El and walked straight into the castle. Wait. Nala El wanted to pull him, but when he stretched out his hand, he grabbed nothing but air. Nala El sped up and ran to him. Stop right there. Who are you? Chen Zhao looked down at Nala El. Tor. This is private land, Nala El said seriously. Really? Whose land? Chen Zhao didn't stop. Stop. This is Earl Nagrand Vagris's property. He's a big noble. Really? I'm here for him. Nala El clearly didn't believe him. Stop, or I'll call the police, Nala El threatened, taking out her phone. Qin Zhao reached out and crushed the phone in Nala El's hand. Qin Zhao glanced at Nala El indifferently. Sorry, I wasn't careful. Nala El stared at him in shock. Chen Zhao clearly didn't have good intentions. She couldn't stop him at all. Qin Zhao walked forward as if there was no one around. Boom! Just then, another violent explosion sounded in front of them. Chen Zhao had already walked over with big strides. When Chen Zhao pushed open the door, everyone's eyes were on him. Nala El saw that someone had died at the scene. Nagrand Vagris and the others were in a standoff with Ruan Faxben, Reisa, and more. Nala El didn't understand what had happened. When Ruan Faxben, Reisa, and more saw Qin Zhao, their expressions changed. As expected, he still came. Chapter 1901. Qin Zhao stood up and glanced at Nala. Miss, It's not suitable for you to appear here. What exactly do you want? Nala, I told you not to appear here today. Don't you understand? Count now. Leave this place, Nagrand Vargas scolded. Nala had no idea what was going on here. Chin Zhao walked up to Ruan and the other two. Who hurt Exanli? The three all lowered their heads. In the end, Ruan was the one who said, I don't know. Anyway, it was that guy. Nagrand Vagras's face was cold. He didn't retort. He couldn't stay out of this anymore. Chin Zhao turned to look at Nagrand Vagras. The next moment, Chun Zhao suddenly appeared before Nagrand Vagras. Before Nagrand Vagras could react, Chin Zhao had already grabbed his neck. His entire body was lifted into the air. Nagrand Vagras couldn't fight back at all before Chin Zhao. Bang! Chin Zhao pinched a golden bullet between his fingers. President, it's him. When Ruan saw the golden bullet between Chun Zhao's fingers, he immediately locked onto Li Peiluo Weeder. Put our father down. All of Nagrand Vagras's family members charged at Chin Zhao with a furious roar. Chin Zhao swung his fist, and a dozen family members along the way were instantly turned into ashes. No, Nagrand Vagras roared. Nagrand Vagras suddenly turned into a puddle of blood and escaped from Chin Zhao's hand. Chin Zhao glanced at Nagrand Vagras, who'd returned to his original form. By now, Nala was already dumbfounded. What exactly was going on? Hand over the murderer, Ruan Faxburn said. Ruan knew that after Chun Zhao arrived, things wouldn't end peacefully. He spoke up now, hoping to give Nagrand Vagras a way out. Do you think you can make me yield like this? Nagrand Vagras's attitude was uncharacteristically resolute. Nagrand Vagras suddenly reached out and grabbed his shoulder. Then he tore his left shoulder off with force. Fresh blood gushed out from the wound and gathered into a puddle on the ground. The blood seemed to have a life of its own as it flowed on the ground and seeped into the ground. Then the ground shook heavily. Guild leader, there seems to be something down there. I know, I feel it. If Ruan Faxi could feel it, how could Chen Zhao not? At this moment, the ground began to collapse. First, it was the stones and bricks that were originally laid on the ground, and then the buildings on top of them. Everyone kept retreating, and the ground collapsed more and more, almost covering half of the castle. The pit was bottomless, like a bottomless abyss. At this moment, a terrifying suction force suddenly came from the bottomless abyss. Everyone began to be uncontrollably sucked into the bottomless abyss. Even Nagrand Vagras, the instigator, could not resist this attraction. Only Chun Zhao stood where he was without moving, watching them get sucked into the bottomless abyss one by one. President, Ruan Faxi originally wanted to ask Chin Zhao for help. In the end, Chin Zhao ignored him. He just stood there and watched the three of them get sucked down. He immediately understood that Chun Zhao was angry at the three of them. Only when everyone was sucked into the bottomless abyss did Chin Zhao jump in. There was a deep pool at the bottom of the abyss. It was about a few hundred meters from the ground. The suction force lasted for a few seconds, and then it turned into an upward current. It was as if something was breathing down there, moving up and down continuously. Nagrand Vagras had grabbed Nala Iyer, which was why she'd been able to survive when she fell into the pool. Of course, it was also fortunate that there were intermittent upward currents. Only then did the falling slow down. Nagrand Vagras picked up the drowning Nala El and turned to look in another direction. He saw Ruan Faxi, Lisa, and more crazily swimming to the shore. Hurry, to the shore. Nagrand Vagras had a bad feeling. There were many holes around the abyss. The airflow was flowing through these holes. At that moment, the pool suddenly exploded, and a huge snake head drilled out of the pool. The snake's body above the water was dozens of meters long. Its head was as big as a plane's. The moment the bloody mouth broke the surface of the water, More than a dozen members of the clan were swallowed into its mouth. Nala Iyer had never seen something like this before. Even the others hadn't seen it before. And Nagrand Vagris knew what was down there. But it was also his first time seeing the snake. Whoosh! Suddenly, a beam of light pierced down from above. The beam of light passed through the serpent's mouth, and then the serpent, along with its huge body, exploded. The broken parts of the snake's body sank into the deep pool. Everyone was shocked. They stared at Chen Zhao, who was floating above the pool, in disbelief. Just then, snake heads started burrowing out of the surrounding caves. Every head was the same as the one Chen Zhao had killed earlier. There were at least 100 of them. They all opened their bloody mouths and hissed at Chen Zhao. 100-headed snake. All the heads of the snake stared at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao looked at them from afar. Chen Zhao didn't expect such a monster to be hiding here. Neither side immediately launched an attack. They were evaluating each other's strength. From this, it could be seen that the snake wasn't a mindless monster. Once it thought it could defeat Chen Zhao, it would attack immediately. The snake was very strong, but Chen Zhao could handle it in his normal state. Nagrand Vagris stared at both sides. He was the only one who knew the snake's background. He became a vampire largely because of the 100-headed serpent. When he undid the seal on the 100-headed serpent, he had the thought that everyone would die together. But after releasing it, he regretted it. He felt that he'd been too rash. Finally, the 100-headed snake attacked Chen Zhao. Plop! A huge snake head was chopped off and fell into the pool. When the head landed, it immediately created a huge wave. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. This man could actually chop off a snake's head in an instant against such a monster? Nagrand Vagris was even more shocked. Where did this man come from? Chapter 1902. Nagrand Vagris knew the origin of the 100-headed serpent. The 100-headed serpent had once wreaked havoc in England before the first year of the Common Era. At that time, England had been called the Island of Monsters. No one in Europe dared to cross the English Channel, much less land in England. Legend had it that giants and monsters lived there. It was even used as a place of exile for Europe. The French used it as a place of exile for criminals. However, most criminals couldn't even cross the English Channel and ended up in fish stomachs. It wasn't until explorers truly landed there that they realized that the people living there were indeed savages. The deeper they explored, the more they realized how terrifying this place was. However, no matter how terrifying a place was, it couldn't stop humans' desires. More and more humans occupied the Island of Monsters. The 100-headed serpent was the king of monsters. It breathed fog and covered a large area, protecting its people. At the same time, it saw humans as food. The war between humans and monsters finally unfolded. The result was obvious. Humans won. The 100-headed serpent led its monster army and hid in the forests of Scotland. However, humans didn't stop because of this. Humans continued to expand toward all lands that were suitable for living. The war started again. It was still the humans who emerged victorious. This time, the 100-headed serpent's monster army was almost completely wiped out. The rest were also scattered and fled deeper into the forest. The 100-headed serpent was sealed. Humans built a castle on the seal of the 100-headed serpent. It was Death Valley Castle. Of course, Death Valley Castle wasn't called that back then. Vagris was the oldest noble family in England. This was because his family had always guarded this castle and shouldered the responsibility of watching over it. In the end, people had even forgotten the meaning of this family's existence. However, the people in his family still kept their previous vows. This was also why Nagrand Vagris was shocked by Chen Zhao, a human who could fight against the king of monsters. In the ancient documents kept by the Vagris family, there were records of the 2 wars between humans and the king of monsters. Many of the documents described how terrifying the king of monsters was. In fact, during the Second War, Rather than defeating the king of monsters, it was more accurate to say that he had schemed against it. The so-called seal was actually to make it sleep. While it was sleeping, he built a castle on top of its head. At that time, there was no existence in Europe that could rival the king of monsters. At that time, the spiritual world in Europe was far less prosperous and active than it was today. The 100 heads of the 100-headed snake attacked Qin Zhao wildly. Qin Zhao punched one after another, continuously shattering the snake's heads. However, even if its head was chopped off or shattered, it could still regrow in the blink of an eye. It had an almost inexhaustible life force. Flesh and blood rained down from the sky. Everyone was amazed by this earth-shattering battle. Neither side seemed to be able to do anything to the other. Nagran Vagris looked at Ruan Fassbender, Lisa, and more. The three of them huddled together, seemingly not worried about the outcome at all, as if they were discussing something. F.A. Shibin explained to the president later. "Why do I have to explain? Why don't you go? Because you're the oldest and we're all underage. You're not embarrassed to ask us to face the president?" "Why? I'm old. You should think about me too. Anyway, the president spoils you kids a lot. You're more suitable than me." "I don't want to," Lisa rejected immediately. "The president almost killed me back then." "Then let's play rock, paper, scissors," Ruan Fassbender said. "Whoever said it has to explain." "Sure," Mo Air agreed. Moore was still too young. He didn't see Lisa and Ruan Fassbender exchange glances. In the end, they left without saying anything. Moore had a long face. "How about 2 out of 3? What do you think?" While they were chatting casually, Nagran Vagris and his family members were frightened out of their wits. The battle between Qin Zhao and the 100-headed snake was too intense. It was completely beyond their imagination. Qin Zhao was scary, but the 100-headed snake was even scarier. No matter how many heads Qin Zhao killed, the 100-headed snake could regrow instantly. To Nagran Vagris, if this continued, Qin Zhao would run out of energy sooner or later. By then, the situation would definitely be reversed. Nagran Vagris didn't know whether he wanted Qin Zhao to win or the 100-headed snake to win. Qin Zhao didn't believe that the 100-headed snake could always grow heads. There was no such thing as immortality in the world. Qin Zhao had only killed 1,000 heads of the 100-headed snake. Basically, he'd cut off 10 heads on each neck. But the 100-headed snake still didn't run out of energy. The heads continued to grow. Qin Zhao was getting tired of it. He suddenly sped up and charged into the mouth of a head. To Nagran Vagris, it looked like Qin Zhao was swallowed by the head. Qin Zhao forcefully charged into the 100-headed snake's esophagus. Qin Zhao wanted to see what the 100-headed snake's body looked like. But halfway through, Qin Zhao realized that the 100-headed snake's body started turning into rock. More accurately, the body of a snake grew out of the rock. All the snake's bodies were connected to a rock that was hundreds of meters wide. The 100-headed snake should have been sealed here in ancient times. Could it have been sealed for too long and turned into a fossil? Qin Zhao broke out of the snake's stomach. Of course, this was just Qin Zhao's imagination running wild. As long as a creature was still alive, its cells would be active. It wouldn't turn into a fossil for no reason. By then, the other snake heads had retracted too. They attacked Qin Zhao even more crazily. Right now, Qin Zhao was more interested in the rock that had fused with the 100-headed snake. He wasn't interested in fighting the 100-headed snake anymore. Qin Zhao took out his black trident and stabbed it at the place where the 100-headed snake and the rock were connected. The 100-headed snake's body started shrinking rapidly. As expected, the black trident had never disappointed Qin Zhao when it came to killing creatures with strong recovery abilities. Qin Zhao grabbed the rock that weighed hundreds of thousands of tons and put it away. He would study it later. Qin Zhao walked out of the cave. He glanced at Ruan Faxben, Risa, and more. Then his gaze fell on Nagran Vagris and his kin. "President, The culprit is already dead. I think it's about time. They've been punished. Ruan Fazabin kicked the corpse in front of him. It was Lepero Weeder's body. Chapter 1903. Qin Zhao looked at them and then at the corpses on the ground. Without saying anything, he flew out of the pit. Dozens of people stared at each other. Qin Zhao knew that Ruan Faisai wanted him to let these people go. Qin Zhao was just using this as an excuse. He didn't kill them all. But this didn't mean that Qin Zhao could calm down. Lepero Weeder had sacrificed himself. His act of self-sacrifice in order to protect his compatriots might seem noble to them. But it didn't mean that Qin Zhao would pity him. He was the one who had caused all of this. Of course he should be punished. Ruan Faxaban glanced at Nagran Vagris. Take us out. Don't tell me there's no way out. Nagran Vagris silently led the way and didn't say anything along the way. His relatives followed behind him. They were all so quiet. Ruan Faisai, Lisa, and more didn't care about their feelings. They were still chatting happily. They also knew that their relationship with Nagran Vagris wasn't the same as before. In the past, they weren't that good, but they could at least pretend to be polite. But now, they didn't even pretend to be polite anymore. Both sides had extremely bad impressions of each other. Nagran Vagris was just angry but didn't dare to say anything. He watched as his own son sacrificed himself to protect the entire clan. This was a huge blow to him, but he couldn't do anything. The power that Qin Zhao had displayed was too terrifying. No wonder Ruan and the others had said that the person behind them could talk to 23rd Blood Mary and Zhang Tianyi on equal terms. When Ruan and the others returned to the hospital, they saw Qin Zhao standing outside Exan Li's room, waiting for them. President, did you go see Exan Li? No, Qin Zhao said. Don't tell her that I didn't interfere. Just pretend that I never came and that I don't know anything. Why do that? If she knows that I interfered, she'll only feel more defeated. Okay, I understand. Ruan Faxburn handed Qin Zhao a ring. This was a magic tool that he'd made. He'd just gotten it from Nagran Vagris. Okay, I'm going back. Ah, President, you're going back just like that? What else? What do you want from me? Punish you? The expressions of the three of them were unnatural. Risa and more silently cursed Ruan Faxi for being a busybody. Not really. Ruan Faxburn's expression was a little stiff. It's okay. Everyone has inconveniences in the outside world. I can understand. Ah, thank you, President. The three were overjoyed. All the debts will be settled after we return. I won't punish you for now. In the next moment, the three of them fell into despair. After saying a few words to the three, Qin Zhao turned and left. As soon as Qin Zhao left, Kalon opened the door. Mr. Farsben, Lisa Moyer back? Who are you talking to? It's nothing. How is Exan Li doing? He's just a little depressed. Everything else is fine. His injuries haven't worsened. Qin Zhao returned to Moon Villa. It was only 3 in the morning in Los Angeles. Qin Zhao realized that Yanghua and Lily were still awake. In the front yard, Yanghua and Lily suddenly saw Qin Zhao descend from the sky. They all jumped in fright, wondering who it was. You're still awake? Qin Zhao looked at them. You're awake too. Where did you go? Yanghua drank a mouthful of beer. Would you believe me if I told you I went to England? It's more than 8,000 kilometers from here. Yang's tone clearly indicated that he didn't believe Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao shrugged. Unless he flew with him, Yanghua wouldn't believe him. Oh, do you know what this is? Qin Zhao took out a piece of stone the size of a finger. At first, Yanghua thought it was a normal stone. However, after turning it over and over in his hand, he discovered that this finger-sized stone carried a special aura. It contained some kind of energy, but he couldn't tell what it was. Where did you get this? Yanghua asked. I picked it up. Can I send it back to Dragon Tiger Mountain? Perhaps the elders of Mount Longhu will be able to tell. Sure, take it. Yang didn't expect Qin Zhao to be so easy to talk to. Just then, the butler system suddenly sounded an alarm. Master, 2 unidentified people are approaching Mingyue Villa. With that, the butler system projected a surveillance image on the wall. Lily and Yang stood up abruptly. It's them. You're the 2 of them. Yes, it's them, Lily said without hesitation. Mingyue Villa didn't have a front door. There were only a few mechanical blocks. If no one went to stop them, they couldn't stop them. Of course. Qin Zhao didn't plan on stopping them. Qin Zhao, what do we do? Fight. What's there to hesitate about? Are you sure? These 2 people are quite strong. Don't you have confidence in me? They're not weak, after all. Qin Zhao didn't refute Yang's doubts. By then, Beast and Spirit Fox had arrived at Mingyue Villa and the front yard. With the holy spear in his hand, Beast glanced at Qin Zhao, who was lying on the bench with his legs crossed. He then shifted his gaze to Lily and Yang. At this moment, Yang and Lily were ready for battle. Beast and Spirit Fox saw that Qin Zhao was still sitting there without moving. They thought that Qin Zhao didn't plan on interfering. If Qin Zhao didn't interfere, it would save them a lot of trouble. Qin Zhao had been lying down lazily, but when he saw the spear in Beast's hand, he raised an eyebrow and stood up. Let me see that thing. Qin Zhao curled his finger. Qin Zhao actually really wanted to borrow it to take a look. But to Beast and Spirit Fox, it sounded like Qin Zhao was provoking them. Without hesitation, Beast raised the spear and pointed it at Qin Zhao. If you want to stop God's will, you should accept God's punishment. Qin Zhao listened to Beast's tone. Why did it sound like a madman who'd been brainwashed by religion? I want to ask, how do you want to punish me? With the holy spear, of course. Beast raised the spear and shot it at Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao raised his palm and blocked the spear's trajectory. But just then, Qin Zhao's palm was pierced. Chapter 1904. Everyone was stunned, including Qin Zhao. What was this? It could actually hurt him. After piercing through Qin Zhao's palm, Beast waved his hand. Beast waved his hand. Qin Zhao felt a suction force appear on the holy spear that had pierced through his hand. It was about to leave his hand. Qin Zhao grabbed the holy spear in his hand. The spear kept vibrating in Qin Zhao's hand, fighting against Qin Zhao's power. Come back! Beast roared. The spear resisted even more fiercely. Qin Zhao looked at his pierced right palm. His right palm recovered, very slowly. It was almost as fast as a normal person. In the wound, there was a power that was organizing his own immortal power to heal the wound. Qin Zhao channeled more immortal power. If the power didn't force the wound out, it wouldn't heal at all. Get out. Qin Zhao tried his best to force the power out of the wound. The power wasn't weak indeed, but Qin Zhao's body was his home field after all. How could Qin Zhao lose to an ownerless power in his home field? A black ball of energy shot out from the wound on Qin Zhao's palm. This mass of energy was enormous. After hovering in the air for a while, it suddenly charged at the spear. After Qin Zhao forced the black ball of energy out of the wound, it healed immediately. At the same time, the spear resisted even more fiercely. It also emitted a scorching heat. If a normal person held it, they would probably fall out in the blink of an eye. Giant spirit transformation, dark assimilation, body double, all techniques returned to one. Qin Zhao entered his complete form. Qin Zhao had already put on the ring that hid his aura. So, Qin Zhao only looked like his form had changed, but his aura wasn't leaked. Beast and Spirit Fox were very anxious. This had never happened before. They couldn't retrieve the spear. This had never happened before. By now, the spear had turned crimson in Qin Zhao's hand. It was like a red-hot soldering iron, but Qin Zhao still held it tightly. The spear started growing bigger and heavier. Qin Zhao didn't hold back anymore. He increased his grip on the spear to the maximum. The part of the spear that he held started cracking. Beast and Spirit Fox's expressions changed drastically when they saw this. They attacked Chun Zhao directly. Chun Zhao lifted his foot and the beast was kicked into the air. He then raised his right arm and aimed it at the beast. A white light shot out. When the wild beast landed on the ground, it was already charred. It couldn't be any more dead. The beast's corpse released a black energy that returned to the sacred spear. The Spirit Fox held 2 swords and slashed at Chun Zhao's thigh. However, the Spirit Fox's twin swords were broken. Chun Zhao lifted his foot and stomped down. The Spirit Fox was also crushed into meat paste. Yang's expression was unnatural, and Layli covered her mouth. The 2 people who had been chasing them were actually defeated and killed by Chun Zhao, just like that. The entire process was too easy and casual. It was so casual that they couldn't believe it. The Spirit Fox's corpse also released a wave of black energy and returned to the sacred spear. Chun Zhao focused more on the holy spear in his hand. The power of this weapon was unparalleled. He couldn't even control it. "If you continue to cause trouble, I'll destroy you." By now, Chun Zhao had gone all out. Rainbow halos appeared above his head. Yang raised an eyebrow. He couldn't sense Chun Zhao's aura. He couldn't feel Chun Zhao's aura, but he could still feel it when Chun Zhao used force. Chun Zhao's body was enveloped by the tremendous force of the world. Once Chun Zhao used the force of the world, the sacred spear resisted even more fiercely. Chun Zhao's power was incompatible with the sacred spear's own power. They were like fire and water. The sacred spear had already turned crimson. Even Chun Zhao's fist, which was holding the spear, had turned red. Crack! A piece of his hand had already cracked. Cracks also started spreading from the broken part. Just then, Chun Zhao's right hand also grabbed the sacred spear. The sacred spear started to bend and change shape. "Stop! Stop!" Just then, the sacred spear suddenly made a sound. The sound was filled with panic and impatience. Yanghua and Layli both looked at Chun Zhao and the sacred spear in shock. "Who are you?" Chun Zhao didn't retract his power. He still used the same strength to bend the sacred spear. If Chun Zhao increased his strength by 10%, he could completely break the sacred spear. Tagoya Abbey. Chun Zhao turned his head and looked at Yanghua. "Have you heard of this name?" "No." Yanghua also didn't know. "Tagoya, the ruler of the old days," Layli said. "He's the famous exploder in the Cthulhu mythos. He symbolizes fire and is a third-tier existence in the Cthulhu mythos." Yanghua looked at Layli in surprise, because he knew that Layli hadn't come into contact with the spiritual world. He shouldn't be too familiar with the matters of the spirit world. How did she know this name? "Layli, how do you know?" Yanghua asked. "I'm the author of the Cthulhu mythos," Layli said. "I've already published 2 books related to the Cthulhu mythos." "Why are you hunting her?" Chun Zhao asked. "Because she's a snitch." "Because she's a snitch," Tagoya Abbey said. Katujiya Abbey said, "What she wrote is leaking our plans." Chun Zhao and Yanghua exchanged glances. Then Chun Zhao asked, "What plan?" "I don't know. You won't be scared if I don't teach you a lesson, right?" Chun Zhao increased his strength. The Holy Lance's arc was already huge. It looked like it was about to break. "I really don't know. My mission is to kill all the snitches." "Who gave you the mission?" "I don't know. You're too perfunctory." Chun Zhao sounded displeased. "It must be my superiors. I submit to them. They can communicate with me mentally, but I can't read their thoughts." "Then tell me your plan. What are you going to do?" "At first, I attached myself to a human body, but I realized that a human body couldn't sustain my power, so I had my believer make this gun. Then I attached myself to this gun and started looking for snitches like this woman. In 1,000 years, I've been in the hands of many humans and killed one snitch after another." 1,000 years? You've existed in this world for 1,000 years. 1,000 years is just an instant to me. My time is far beyond what you humans can imagine. The Cthulhu mythos only appeared in the last century, right? Chen Zhao asked, confused. No, the Cthulhu mythos only became famous in the last century. Actually, the original author, Howard Philip Lovecraft, wrote it after consulting many ancient documents. Rumor has it that Howard Philip Lovecraft was influenced by something unspeakable. 9 Heavens, Divine King. Chapter 1905. What's your original body like? Chen Zhao was curious. If I destroy the spear, will you come out? Tagoya Abbey fell silent. The great old ones can't appear in the modern world, Lily said. At least not in the setting. Chen Zhao could feel the mysterious murderous intent from the spear. Clearly, Lily had hit Katugia Abbey's sore spot. What if it appears in the modern world? Chen Zhao asked. Obliterate, Lily said. The murderous intent on the spear intensified. So, if I destroy the spear, this guy will lose his protection and be obliterated? Yang Guo looked at Lily in confusion. How do you know? I just know. It seems like the setting should be like this. Lily was also confused. Just then, Samuel jumped onto Chen Zhao's shoulder. This guy is the god of fire element among the unusual gods. Chen Zhao was surprised. He's an unusual god? Like the unusual gods I've met before? Yes, but he's just a bit stronger. Then why can those from the past appear in their original bodies, but this guy can't? Just like how we demons from hell can't appear in the modern world, but it's not an absolute restriction. In fact, only the great lords will receive absolute punishment. Those below that will at most be suppressed. The unusual gods also come from hell? No, they come from another world, Samuel said disapprovingly. They think they're strong and want to take over hell. In the end, they're all kept in hell and treated as pigs by us. But I have to admit that they taste really good. Yanghua and Lily couldn't understand the conversation between Chen Zhao and Samuel. Chen Zhao's language was already hard to understand, while Samuel was meowing, but they could clearly tell that Chen Zhao was talking to the little kitten. So, do you know his intentions? It's nothing more than these ancient gods wanting to develop some believers, or search for some possibility of descending. However, some prophets learned of their existence in advance, and then leaked their information and even their plans. This guy called Kutagia Abbey, to put it bluntly, is an assassin sent by the ancient gods. She's a prophet? Chen Zhao glanced at Lily. A complete world will always have all kinds of rules. However, no matter how complete a world is, there will always be some loopholes in the rules. Prophets exist to make up for these loopholes. It's just like computer repair software. It's not a big deal. There are thousands of prophets in the world, all kinds of prophets, and all kinds of loopholes. If all the otherworldling gods descend, won't Earth be in danger? What danger? Your current strength is more than enough to deal with it. The most powerful otherworldly god will never descend, just like how the demon king of hell will never descend. Even if you don't do anything, the otherworldly gods can't rule the world. Samuel landed on the spear. Give this to me. I don't have this breed in my ranch. Kutagoya Abbey couldn't understand their conversation. However, he could clearly feel a strong sense of malice. How are you going to get it back? By mail? No need. Use all your strength to throw him into space. I'll retrieve him myself, Samuel said. Thrown into outer space. Are you serious? It's too difficult to use my real body's power in the modern world, but I can leave it. Fine. Chen Zhao gripped the spear tightly. What are you doing? What are you going to do to me? Kutagoya Abbey screamed in fear. He seemed to have sensed something. Chen Zhao took 2 steps back with the spear. Then he sprinted. The airflow caused by Chen Zhao's sprinting made Yanghua and Lily lose their balance. The airflow was too strong. After sprinting more than 10 meters, Chen Zhao increased his strength to the maximum. The spear flew out of his hand in an instant. Bang! The spear broke through 100 times the speed of sound and pierced through the clouds under the night sky. It was too fast. In the blink of an eye, it was tens of thousands of meters in the sky. Chen Zhao had thrown it with tens of millions of tons of force. The speed was unimaginable. No aircraft in the world could compare to this speed. Yanghua and Lily's mouths were agape as they watched the long spear disappear into the night. In 2 minutes, it had surpassed the International Space Station. In 3 minutes, it had left low Earth orbit. With Chen Zhao's strength, the spear also disappeared after leaving low Earth orbit. In the end, it disappeared into the void. Perhaps a human device had found the spear, but because the spear had gone too fast, there was no time to monitor it. How can you give it up so easily? That spear should be a powerful weapon, right? Yanghua looked at Chen Zhao, confused. I have something better, Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. Why do I need the spear? You can give it to me even if you don't want it. I'm happy to accept it. Then go get it. Yanghua was speechless. If the spear was on Dragon Tiger Mountain, it could probably be their trump card. Okay, Chen Zhao said. You're not a threat anymore. You can leave now. That's not nice of you. Why are you in such a hurry to chase away guests? You too are troublemakers. If I don't chase you away, would I keep you for New Year? But it's 3 in the morning. Then leave tomorrow morning. Oh, don't forget our bet. In half a year, you have to come whenever I call you. Chen Zhao hadn't forgotten their bet. Thinking of it, Yanghua felt a toothache. Why was he so stupid back then? Why did he bet with Chen Zhao? In the end, he'd fallen into a trap himself. He wanted to go back on his word, but when he thought of Chen Zhao's terrifying power, he gave up on the idea. If Chen Zhao could shoot a spear into outer space, he could probably shoot people into outer space too. Just think about what would happen if he angered Chen Zhao. If Chen Zhao threw himself into outer space, it would feel scarily good. Then, the two returned to their rooms to pack. In the morning, the two of them carried their luggage and left. Yanghua kept complaining that Chen Zhao didn't know how to treat guests. On the other hand, Chen Zhao completely treated them as jinxes. Chin, why did Lily and Yang leave? They left if there's nothing else. Otherwise, how long do you think they should stay here? Okay, they don't look like bad people. They're not bad, but they're very troublesome. Chapter 1906. Boss. Portia was here for breakfast again. Take care of the house, Chin Zhao said. I have something to do in the morning. Chin, where are you going in the morning? West, and the others are going to Africa, Chen Zhao said. I'm taking them to the airport. When Chen Zhao arrived at the headquarters, the luggage of 20 to 30 people filled up 2 trucks. There was no one in Chen Zhao's MPV. It was filled with luggage. Chen Zhao increasingly felt that he should get a private plane. West sat in the front passenger seat. President, I heard something happened to XN Lee in Edinburgh. Yes, something happened. Chen Zhao nodded. I'll pretend that I don't know. I don't want to hurt her confidence. Chen Zhao also understood that it was impossible for someone to be completely fine outside. Moreover, there was a certain degree of danger in the spirit world. You couldn't blame Ruan Faxburn, Rissa, and more. After all, they weren't real nannies and bodyguards. They couldn't watch XN Lee all the time. If XN Lee was called back because of something like this, XN Lee would probably be traumatized for the rest of her life. Is there any news from the government? Not at the moment. West shook his head. This matter might not fall on us. Any news from the psionic team? No, they've been very obedient recently. They're just developing themselves quietly. Developing? Expanding? Chen Zhao and West had talked about the development of a supernatural organization. In the end, they decided that expanding wasn't a good choice. If there were too many people, there would be conflicts between factions. Most people in the organization didn't like to play politics. Even Qin Zhao didn't understand politics. So, rather than being disloyal when there were too many people, it was better to take the path of fewer people. Having more people was never a problem. Qin Zhao and West hoped that there were more people. The more people there were, the messier it would be. The more people there were, the easier it would be for them to sneak in. Qin Zhao sent them to the airport. He saw Yanghua and Lily. Looking at their big and small bags, they seemed to be going far away. "Yang, where are you going?" "Back home," Yanghua said unhappily. "Back home? For what? What do you mean? Do I need your permission to go back home? What do you think?" Chen Zhao smiled at Yanghua. Yanghua's face kept twitching. "I'll send Lei Li to Mount Longhu," Yanghua said after adjusting his tone. "She can go to China, but you can't, at least not for the next 6 months." "Why? Although I lost the bet to you, I didn't sell myself." "No, you did sell yourself." Qin Zhao shook his head. "It's not safe for a woman to go to a strange place. Huaxia is the safest place in the world. Why would it be unsafe? It's not like we're sending her to some battlefield. I'll go back to Los Angeles soon. If you don't come back, I can still go to Dragon Tiger Mountain to catch you," Chen Zhao said matter-of-factly. "You're not allowed to go. How can you be like this? Do you believe that I can make you run 3 laps around the airport naked? Just trust me, okay?" "Not good." Yanghua felt a wave of helplessness. Why was he so unlucky? He had just left Chen Zhao's place in the morning, and now he was at the airport again. To be honest, he really wanted to go back to China. As long as he hid in the country, Qin Zhao wouldn't be able to find him no matter how powerful he was. Chen Zhao took out his phone and called Yanghua. In the end, there was no response. "Wow! You even changed your phone number, and you're not planning to run away?" Chen Zhao glared at Yanghua with a dark expression. This was awkward. Yanghua twitched his lips. "My number is offline because it owes me money. The operator is really bad, so I changed my number. Do you think I'll believe you?" "I'm serious." "Okay, Ms. Laley, go to China alone. Have fun." Chen Zhao put his hand on Yanghua's shoulder. Laley looked at Yanghua, who could only nod helplessly. "Laley, go. I've already arranged everything in China. My seniors will pick you up at the airport. Don't worry." Laley nodded. Yanghua wanted to cry, but no tears came out. If he had entered the departure lounge, he wouldn't have run into Chen Zhao. Qin Zhao dragged Yanghua out of the airport and into the car. "What's your new phone number?" "It's the same one." "Then why can't I get through to you?" Yanghua's face twitched again. "Don't you know that phones have a function called the blacklist? What grudge do you have? Why did you put me on the blacklist?" "Let's not talk about this, okay?" Yanghua kept sighing. Why was he so unlucky? Why was he caught by Qin Zhao? "Where are you going?" "Send me to my place," Yanghua said. Yanghua's place wasn't bad. It was a high-end neighborhood. But when he reached his house, Yanghua didn't get out. He kept frowning. "What's wrong?" "There's an uninvited guest in my house." Yanghua was very unhappy. "Which house is yours?" Chen Zhao asked. "That one." Through Yanghua's directions, Qin Zhao realized that there were 2 people in Yanghua's house. "There are 2 people inside. Are they the uninvited guests?" Chen Zhao turned to Yanghua. "Do you need me to send them away?" "No. I don't like them, but they're not enemies. They broke into your house. Aren't they enemies?" "I don't like them, but I don't want to be enemies with them." "Who are they?" "An organization called the Spiritual Team." Qin Zhao raised an eyebrow. "Spiritual Team? Is the person in charge called Vestana? You know them." Yanghua looked at Chen Zhao in surprise. "The purpose of the Spiritual Team is to be my enemy," Qin Zhao said. "So they're your enemies? Good thing I didn't join them. Do they want you to join them?" A smile appeared on Chen Zhao's face. Seeing Chen Zhao smile, Yanghua had a bad feeling. "Please don't ask me to be a spy. I don't have the talent." Since you're so enthusiastic, I'll agree to your request. You can join the spiritual team. What? I said I won't join. I'm from Dragon Tiger Mountain. I can't betray my master. It's fine. If old Zhang has any complaints, I'll handle it for you. Go in peace. I don't want. You don't have a choice, Qin Zhao said coldly. Don't worry about being a spy. If there's any news, remember to tell me. You have my number. You can get out now. Chapter 1907. Can I say no? Yang Guo looked at Qin Zhao with a sad face. Oh, which generation are you from Dragon Tiger Mountain? Qin Zhao suddenly changed the topic. The Dao generation. Are you the successor of Mount Longhu? No, why do you ask? It's fine. I just want to know if old Zhang will turn against me if I kill you. Qin Zhao, we don't have such a big grudge. Also, my grandmaster loves me a lot. It's okay. I'll go find a few Qiaofongs, Linghu Chong, Duanyu, Guojing, Zhang Wuji, and so on. Your grandmaster just wants to have some fun. Hearing that, Yang Guo felt even more stifled. In Qin Zhao's words, he was a joke. All right, don't pull a long face. Go. Qin Zhao patted Yang Guo's shoulder. It's only half a year. It's not like you have to be an opportunist for the rest of your life. Yang Guo did not believe this sentence. Being a spy once meant being a spy for a lifetime. After Yang Guo got off, Qin Zhao drove away. Just then, Qin Zhao received Dell's call. Qin, come here. Oh, are you at home? No, I'm at the hotel. All right, I'll head over now. Qin Zhao arrived at the hotel and saw that Li Qing was also in Dell's office. Qin, please persuade my master. What's there to advise? Sister Qing, what's wrong? Nothing. I just want Dell to help me save the money. It's nothing big, Li Qing said. She had a check in her hand. Qin Zhao was confused. Dell, since Auntie Qing asked you to save money for her, just do it for her. What's so difficult about it? Qin Zhao took the check from Li Qing and looked at it. His eyes almost popped out. $20 million. $20 million US? Dell, did you give it to your master? Not me. Dell shook his head. Master said it was a client you introduced last time. That client paid her. Qin Zhao was amazed. Last time, he had introduced Li Qing to Amira casually. Amira then introduced Li Qing to her father. She didn't expect her father to be so generous as to give her $20 million US. This was an astronomical figure for any spiritualist. Even if it's a lot of money, it shouldn't be a problem, right? I can guarantee that the money came from a clear source. I'm not afraid that Master's money came from an unknown source. I just feel that with so much money, Master doesn't need to work for that old bastard Ethan anymore. In fact, this had nothing to do with $20 million US. Even without $20 million US, Dell was willing to take care of Li Qing until she died. Dell didn't like Ethan either. Even if Li Qing helped him take care of Faith and teach her spells, he would be more than happy to do so. Qin, help me persuade my master too. She's already so rich now. She doesn't need to work at Ethan's place all day. What advice can I give? I don't care. He knew that Li Qing didn't stay with Ethan for the salary. It was because to Li Qing, she was a grateful person. When she was at her most desperate, Qin Zhao and Ethan gave her a place to stay. Just then, Li Qing said, even with the $20 million, your headquarters can't make me do nothing, right? Master, I didn't say that I want you to just eat and wait to die. If you feel that you have nothing to do, come to my hotel. We are short of a department manager. You can come here and be a department manager. Isn't it better than that small motel? You don't need me. Plus, I can't be a department manager. Dell looked at Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao shrugged. I can't help you either. Dell was depressed. He'd had high hopes for Qin Zhao, but Qin Zhao rejected him directly. Qin Zhao knew that Dell and Ethan were fighting fiercely. However, they were both Qin Zhao's friends, so Qin Zhao never interfered. Mr. Qin, did your cultivation improve again? Li Qing clearly didn't want to continue this topic. She changed the topic to Chen Zhao. But Li Qing's eyesight was indeed good. Her cultivation wasn't high, but her eyesight was definitely rare. Even Zhang Tianyi might not have her eyesight. Auntie Li, how can you tell? You have the qi of great minister now. Your face is a combination of dragon and tiger. Last time I saw you, you didn't have this. So I guess that your cultivation improved greatly or that you obtained some treasure. Master, what's the qi of great minister? Qi refers to power. The so-called qi of great minister is described as the tides move the wind and clouds, the hidden dragon in the mountains, the spiritual light in the heart, the treasure elephant dancing in the wind. Li Qing said, You haven't learned physiognomy yet, so you can't tell Mr. Chen's level. What about the combination of dragon and tiger? What is it? In physiognomy, a person's face is divided into upper and lower qi. The upper is cloud and the lower is wind. The cloud follows the dragon and the wind follows the tiger. That's why it's said that everyone has a dragon and a tiger. When the qi is up, the dragon is a king. When the qi is down, the tiger is a hero. Mr. Chen's face is a combination of dragon and tiger. Master, look at my physiognomy. Do I have a chance to be a king or something? You're thinking too much. You have the face of a tiger rising to the sun and a dragon diving into the water. This is the face of prosperity and wealth, and you will not have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of your life. As for the dragon, it doesn't mean that you can be a king or an emperor, but it means that this kind of physiognomy is extremely precious in the world. It doesn't respect heaven and earth. It doesn't respect ghosts and gods. It only respects one's heart. Li Qing said, People with these two types of physiognomy are either too self-centered and selfish, or they're sinister and vile. Therefore, it's not advisable to have too much contact with these two types of people. Everyone will more or less have their qi fall and their lower qi rise. This is also a person's personality that changes constantly. You have this kind of personality, and so does Mr. Chen. Everyone is the same. Many people in the world can be summed up in this way. Li Qing paused and continued, and the qi of dragon and tiger is the embrace of wind and cloud. It's a combination of yin and yang. Only people with a clear mind can have this kind of physiognomy. This kind of physiognomy is worthy of the word great. The Qingyi sect was born out of Mao Shan Taoism. Mao Shan was not only good at refining corpses, but also good at physiognomy. The founder of the Qingyi sect, Shangliu Qingyi, traveled the world in his early years, relying on his physiognomy. Later on, he established his own sect and became the Qingyi sect. Shangliu Qingyi's name also spread all over the world. Li Qing was the current successor of the Qingyi sect. She had third-rate abilities in subduing demons and demons, second-rate cultivation, and first-rate physiognomy. Is there anything special about the word great? Ordinary people look at their physiognomy, but people with great physiognomy can only look at their qi, not their faces. I still don't understand. Aren't they all the same? Looking at qi can see the present, not the future, but looking at the face can see the past, present, and future, Li Qing said. 9 Heavens, Divine Emperor. Chapter 1908. Most of the Qingyi sect's books were still in Chen Zhao's hands. However, Chen Zhao couldn't learn physiognomy. Fei Lai, on the other hand, kept reading. As Li Qing's direct disciple, Dell also didn't know physiognomy. Actually, Li Qing cared more about Dell's daughter, Faith. Faith was too talented. She had a higher chance of inheriting Li Qing's legacy. Master, Chen's cultivation is higher than yours, right? Li Qing rolled her eyes. Mr. Chen's cultivation has always been higher than mine. Then, how high is Chen's cultivation now? Then you should ask him yourself. Dell looked at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao shrugged. I can't tell how high it is, but I should be in the top 10 in the world. That's strong. Dell wasn't convinced. Chen, let's fight. Chen Zhao and Li Qing rolled their eyes at the same time. Although cultivation did not represent one's battle prowess, but Chen Zhao said that he could be in the top 10 in the world. His combat ability definitely wasn't weak. Dell was still at a mediocre level. However, Dell still didn't have an accurate concept of cultivation and combat ability. It was mainly because he hadn't interacted with people from the spiritual world. Who had he interacted with now? Chen Zhao, Li Qing, and his daughter Faith. None of the three of them would really fight with him. So, Dell always felt good about himself. Auntie Li, I'm going back, Chen Zhao said. Chen, don't go. Fight with me. Chen Zhao lifted his hand and flicked his finger. A small fist shadow hit the wall and created a hole. Dell, are you sure you want me to open a hole in your body? I can do it if I train for a while longer. Chen Zhao and Li Qing both smiled bitterly. Li Qing could tell that Chen Zhao hadn't even used 1% of his strength. Dell thought that Chen Zhao had used his full strength. But Chen Zhao didn't show his strength because he didn't want to give Dell too much pressure. It was just like the theory of speed racing. If one was ahead by only a body's length or a short distance, it would only incite the latecomers to catch up. However, if one was in the lead for 2 big laps, it would only bring despair to the latecomers and cause them to give up on the competition. Chen Zhao knew this, and so did Li Qing. Only Dell didn't. So he basically didn't use magic in front of Dell. Even if he used it, it would be like a dragonfly touching the surface of the water. Master, what kind of spell did Chen use to punch holes in the air? Many types of magic can do that, and the Green Robe sect has them as well. However, Chen Zhao is relatively simple. As long as your cultivation reaches his level, you can also do it. Master, can you do it? This? I'll try. Chen Zhao strolled through the back garden of the hotel, admiring the scenery. Dell and Risfar, on the other hand, understand and enjoy it. At this moment, a group of people came over. That group of people was surrounding a person. The 2 bodyguards in front cleared the way. The garden path was narrow, and it was difficult for 3 people to stand. Chen Zhao stood in the middle of the road. The 2 bodyguards walked up to him and tried to push him. Stop, go away. Wang He actually enjoyed this process. He had a team of 10 personal assistants. There were also 4 bodyguards arranged by PLM to protect him during the North American trip. This was Wang He's first time enjoying the treatment of a superstar. Yes, a superstar. A movie had made him one of the superstars. His fame both domestically and internationally had reached its peak. This time he had come here not only for 2 North American interview shows, but also for the celebration party. However, when he saw Chen Zhao, he quickly pushed the 2 bodyguards away. Wang He jogged over to Chen Zhao and smiled at him. Mr. Chen, hello. Chen Zhao glanced at the team behind Wang He. You sure have a lot of people here. It's all thanks to Mr. Chen, Wang He said, smiling apologetically. The assistants behind him were all from China. Even Wang He's current manager was brand new. He could summon wind and rain in the Chinese entertainment industry. But he didn't dare to put on airs before Chen Zhao. After all, he wanted to take a few more movies in Hollywood. Plus, Chen Zhao's background wasn't as simple as Hollywood. Offending Chen Zhao here would result in terrible consequences. When did you come to Los Angeles? Just today. Oh, Chen Ku is here too. We're here for the celebration party, Wang He said. I was going to visit you 2 days ago. Then come visit when you're free. You know where I live, anyway. Chen Zhao nodded. I'll be going now. Okay, I won't see you off. Bye. Bye. Wang He kept his eyes on Chen Zhao. When he disappeared from his sight, he heaved a sigh of relief. Brother Wang, who is that person? Is he in the entertainment industry too? Manager Lu asked curiously. He had just been assigned to Wang He by the company. Lu wasn't old, but he was an experienced manager. His work style was also mature. He knew how to coordinate the interests of celebrities and various resources. He himself is a billionaire. the chairman of PLM, and Stephen are good friends of his. He was the one who helped me get the role in Abduction. Also, he was the one who arranged for me to play the role in Abduction. Also, my wife in the movie, Chin Kuo, is his cousin. Wang, he looked at little Lu. Do you think I would dare to be disrespectful to him? Little Lu gasped. He immediately understood why Wang he had lowered his stance so much earlier. Wang he still had some information that he didn't say. Qin Zhao's information wasn't as simple as he said. Will he appear at the celebration party? Probably not. He doesn't like that kind of occasion. Arrange a time and we'll visit him tomorrow. Okay, I'll arrange the time and schedule. Wang he was no longer a second-tier or third-tier celebrity. In the past, he had to strictly follow his manager's arrangements for all his activities and schedules. But it was different now. All the company's resources were focused on him. Of course, there was also Chen Ku. Chen Ku's resources weren't much less than his. After all, Chen Ku was famous and influential. She was also Chen Zhao's cousin. Wang he didn't dare to compete with Chen Ku. Of course, their actual conflicts weren't big. After all, their roles, character designs, and development directions were all different. Moreover, Wang, he and Chen Ku played a couple in Kidnapping. Therefore, they were recognized as a screen couple and were very popular in the domestic market. Wang he didn't lack fame or status. What he lacked was experience. Wang he was very careful when choosing new works. He didn't dare to be careless. Chapter 1909. Now, there were a few Hollywood film companies that had offered him roles. But Wang he didn't agree. They were all third-tier companies. There wasn't even a second-tier company. None of them were A-grade or above either. Wang he didn't want to make an independent movie either. He needed commercial recognition. Kidnapping had made him who he was. Now he needed to consolidate his position. So he needed a commercial film that had hope of success. Chen Zhao's power and connections were clearly a great help. Wang he obviously didn't want to become enemies with Chen Zhao. In the past, Chen Zhao had thought that the hardest job was being a doctor. But now he felt that the hardest job was being a kindergarten teacher. When Chen Zhao returned home, Portia was already on the verge of breaking down. Chen Zhao's return was like a beacon of light in a sea of misery for Portia. Boss, you're finally back. Portia's face was covered in tears. I was only gone for half a day. What happened to you? Half a day? Why do I feel like half a century has passed? Okay, go rest. I'll call you when it's lunchtime. Chen Zhao patted Portia's shoulder. Portia rolled her eyes. Boss, I'm not tired anymore. Oh, since you're not tired, you can go by takeout. I'll go rest. Portia found a guest room and laid down. She was really tired. Chen Zhao changed his clothes and leaned against the yard. A few kids were playing in the front yard. Some were on the beach. This was Chen Zhao's favorite state, doing nothing. Just then, a car entered Mingyue Villa. Lola arrived with the 3 children. Hi, Lola. Chen Zhao went up and kissed her. Then he looked at Vera, Ronnie, and Faith. Lola, how come you're free today? Johnny went to Europe, and I have to go to Australia tomorrow, so I can't take care of Vera and Ronnie. I could only bring them here. What about Faith? Faith said that Vera and Ronnie aren't here, and she's alone. After asking Dell, I brought her here too. Okay. Chen Zhao shrugged. The 3 families were familiar with each other and trusted each other. They both had children, so it was normal for them to help each other take care of their children. He didn't know if Portia would go crazy after seeing 3 more children. The 3 boys were already on the beach. The 3 of them were no strangers to this place. Stay for lunch. At the dining table, when Portia saw the 3 extra children, she looked as if she had nothing to live for anymore. On the other hand, Chun Zhao and Laura were chatting away. By the way, is Johnny going to Europe for work? It's about work. Laura nodded. One of the ocean shipping company's cargo ships has been hijacked in Somali waters, and the Somali pirates are now demanding a ransom of 50 million USD. Will Johnny be in danger? Chen Zhao asked, frowning. He won't go to Somalia. Nothing will happen to him. I'm fine. Chun Zhao nodded. Is Somalia a place for people? He didn't even know when a bullet would be fired from the shadows. Where was Johnny's ship hijacked in the Somali waters? I know some pirates. Maybe they can help. You know pirates? Laura looked at Chun Zhao, surprised. You know my job. Pirates have appeared in my patient list before. Are you sure that the pirates you know can help? Our biggest problem right now isn't money, but how to ensure the safety of the crew. Laura's words weren't just for humanitarian reasons, but for universal values. It also concerned the future of the ocean shipping company. If a company couldn't ensure the safety of its employees, it would be very passive. I'm not 100% sure, but there's still hope. Even if we have to negotiate, it's better to negotiate with pirates than with Johnny. Of course, Chun Zhao knew that the Somali pirates were completely different from the pirates in other waters. Most of the Somali pirates were actually rebels. Plus, they wouldn't follow the rules, let alone be trustworthy. Laura hesitated for a moment. Do you want to give it a try? Laura wasn't confident. Of course. She didn't want Risfar to take the risk. But Risfar had always been very daring. Who knew if he would really go to Somalia? Give me the cargo ship's information. After lunch, Laura was about to leave. Chin, I'll leave it to you, but don't force yourself. At most, you'll have to pay a ransom. It's not unacceptable for us. I understand. Chun Zhao nodded. After Laura left, Chun Zhao picked up the phone. Guret, do you have any relationship with the Somali pirates? They're just a bunch of barbarians. Why do you ask? Guret asked, confused. My friend's cargo ship was robbed. I'm afraid I can't help you. My people and I are only active in the Pacific. We can't set foot in the Somali waters. Okay, do you have any good suggestions? What do you want? My friend is in the shipping business, after all. Will there be any problems? Chun Zhao asked. Don't worry. Those aren't normal pirates. They're just looking for an opportunity to do something. The power on the sea is at most a few small fishing boats. Next time, as long as we avoid this area and go a few hundred nautical miles, the Somali pirates won't be able to do anything. Mr. Risfar, it's too risky. You don't have to come here yourself. No, I do. Risfar was in the Somali waters at the moment. He was on a modified armed ship. Risfar's expression didn't look good. He wanted to know why his cargo ship had been hijacked. He had some connections with the local rebel government. Every year, they would give him a few $1 million for passage. Thus, his cargo ship often passed by this area. There had never been any danger or hijacking. A few $1 million wasn't a lot, but it wasn't a small amount either. If all the ships under his company chose to go around this area, the cost would increase correspondingly. The price he would have to pay would be 10 times more than the few $1 million. He had to figure out if these pirates and the rebels behind them were still trustworthy and if they could still maintain courtesy. After all, this wasn't a glorious thing. As the top ocean shipping company in Europe, if such a scandal was exposed, it would be a huge blow to the company's image. Risfar couldn't tell the negotiation team, so he could only do it himself. Chapter 1910. Just then, a fishing boat appeared in front of the ship. It wasn't even a third of the size of the ship. Mr. Risfar, the ship in front, sent a message. It's a messenger sent by Roaman. He's requesting to come closer. Okay, Risfar said. Let him come closer. Risfar stood on the deck of the ship and watched the fishing boat come over. But it didn't slow down. It still charged at Risfar. Oh no, he's going to hit our ship. Shoot, shoot. We have to sink them. Our ship is so big. It should be fine, right? Risfar didn't understand, but he didn't sound confident either. Mr. Risfar, they must have explosives on the ship. But at this time the fishing boat was too close, and the fishing boat was equipped with iron armor. The ship's firepower wasn't weak, but its cannons had medium to long range. It couldn't fire at the nearby fishing boat. The machine gun on the ship fired at the fishing boat's armor, but it didn't have any effect. The fishing boat had been scheming. It had tricked Risfar into crossing the safety line. "Mr. Risfar, get down." Risfar's bodyguard suddenly pressed him to the ground. Boom! With a loud bang, the entire ship began to shake. The hull was severely damaged. It started tilting. Just then, a dozen fishing boats appeared around the ship. It was obvious that this was a trap that had been prepared beforehand. The crew on the ship fell into the water. Risfar also struggled on the surface. The people on the fishing boats started shooting at the sea. A life buoy with a rope was thrown in front of Risfar. Then he was pulled onto one of the boats. Less than 20 minutes later, he was thrown onto the deck. He went from a big boss to a prisoner. Risfar looked up and saw his former partner, Roaman, standing before him. Beside Roaman stood a white man. He clearly wasn't a Somali pirate. "Mr. Roaman, what do you think of my plan?" "Good, very good." Roaman grinned, revealing a mouth full of black teeth. Although Luoaman was dressed like a tribesman, he spoke fluent English. Luoaman looked at Risfar on the deck. "Mr. Risfar, this is the second time we've met, right? Roaman, do you know what you're doing?" Risfar was furious. "Of course I know, Mr. Risfar. I'm short of money recently, so I can only do this. I hope you can understand my difficulties," Luoaman said proudly. "How much do you want?" Risfar regretted it at the moment. However, he knew very well that if he didn't pay the price this time, he wouldn't be able to escape. In fact, he might even die here this time. Not much. Just 1 billion USD. "You won't get the money," Risfar snorted. In the business world, asking for a sky-high price was important, and the same applied to kidnapping and ransom. If he directly agreed to the other party's request, then the other party would feel that he wanted too little. Then he would ask for more money. "I believe your family will agree," the white man standing next to Luoaman said with his hands in his pockets. "You're dreaming." Risfar closed his eyes. "Krull, are you sure that guy's family will pay? 1 billion USD. That's not a small amount." "Of course, I'm very sure." "Does he really have that much money?" For a Somali rebel leader like Luoaman, a few million USD was already a windfall for them. 1 billion USD was an unimaginably astronomical number. "Risfar's worth is much more than that," Krull said. "Much more than that? Then can we get more money?" Krull shook his head. "Although his worth is much more than that, he doesn't have that much cash unless he sells his assets. That will take a long time." "Then we can wait," Luoaman said. "No, we can't wait," Krull immediately objected firmly. Krull immediately objected. "People like him are too influential and powerful. He can even influence the government. We can't give his forces time to prepare. Once they're ready, it will be very troublesome. After taking the money, we'll kill him." "Kill him? Can't we keep extorting him?" Luoaman said with pity. "Keep extorting? You're thinking too much." Krull sneered. "Even you have to hide after taking the money. I'm not afraid. I have an army." "Army? Can your army defeat the Americans?" Krull looked at the bumpkin in disdain. This guy didn't know when to stop. Krull didn't want to expose himself, since the bumpkin was so stupid he couldn't let him live. Krull knew very well that if he was exposed, then there would be endless trouble. Risfar's family wouldn't just let him go. Although Krull was a professional mercenary, Risfar's family would definitely hire many killers and mercenaries. The number would be unimaginable. Krull would be hunted for the rest of his life. No matter how capable Krull was, he didn't want to face such a life. Luoaman was naive enough to think that he could do whatever he wanted with an army. He didn't understand how terrifying capitalists were. After the fishing boat docked, Risfar was dragged ashore. Then he was thrown into a smelly dungeon. Risfar knew very well that he wouldn't be able to survive this time. He was too confident. He thought that with enough force he could protect himself even in Somalia. He didn't expect that Luoaman would prepare a trap for him. Just then, the door to the dungeon opened again. Luoaman and Krull walked in. 2 other people came with them. They aimed their cameras at Risvar. Risvar immediately understood their intention. They wanted to film him being kidnapped and send it to Lola. This made Risvar very angry, but his anger was of no use. He couldn't do anything. Kral threw a piece of paper to Risvar and asked him to read it. Risvar was obviously unwilling, but then there was a series of punches and kicks. Risvar quickly gave in and compromised. These people were very heavy-handed. They beat Risvar until he curled up on the ground. The footage they filmed was even more cruel and bloody. Mr. Risvar, look. If you cooperate with us obediently, you won't have to suffer like this. Chapter 1911. Chen, something happened. Laura ran to Mingyue Villa in a panic. What happened? Chen Zhao saw Laura running over in a hurry. Didn't he say he was going on a business trip today? However, when Laura saw Ronnie and Vera, she forced herself to control her emotions. Didi, take your sister outside to play, Chen Zhao said. After the children all left, Laura gave Chen Zhao her phone. It was a video. The more Chen Zhao watched, the more serious his expression became. What's going on? Johnny's in trouble. He went to Somalia and was kidnapped by the local rebels. Laura was at a loss. Chen, do you have cash? Johnny, and I only have 200 million in our accounts. Yes. Chen Zhao nodded and picked up the phone. Andrews, help me transfer all the cash in my account. How much cash do I have? Hearing Andrews' answer, Chen Zhao nodded. At the same time, he said to Laura, Laura, don't worry. I have 600 million in my account. I'll find someone to borrow some more. Chin, I'll go find someone myself. It's okay. My friend has cash, Chen Zhao said, shaking his head. Okay, Laura, rest here. I'll go find my friend. Thank you, Chen. Chen Zhao called Fei Lai first, telling her to put down her work and come back to accompany Laura. Hearing the situation, Fei Lai immediately rushed back from the coastal rescue team. Laura, don't worry. Chen knows a lot of friends. It'll be fine. Fei Lai immediately went to Laura and comforted her. Laura actually wanted to believe Fei Lai, but she also knew that Fei Lai's words were mostly to comfort her. To Laura, it wasn't the time to think about money. Instead, she was thinking about whether Risvar could come back alive. Laura, do you know the information about the person who kidnapped Johnny? The more detailed, the better. I only know that his name is Roaman, a rebel leader in Malka. He has more than 10,000 people under him. Laura looked at Chen Zhao worriedly. Chin, is this enough? Yes. Chen Zhao nodded. Fei Lai, stay with Laura. I'm going out. Okay. Fei Lai nodded understandingly. Mr. Graves, can I ask you something? Graves was surprised to receive Chen Zhao's call. Mr. Chin, did the 2 bodyguards I arranged make a mistake? Glavers thought that something had happened to the 2 bodyguards, which was why Chen Zhao had called to question them. No, I wanted to ask if you have any intelligence on Somalia. What would you like to know, Mr. Chin? Glavers asked. A rebel leader called Roaman. The more details, the better. Mr. Chen, I run a security company. Although I have my own contacts in intelligence, I can't guarantee anything. $10 million. I don't care how much you give to your network. I want an answer in 30 minutes. I want all the information about this rebel leader named Roaman. All right, I'll find out all the information about this guy in 30 minutes. As soon as Glavers hung up, he received a message from his bank. $10 million had been added to his account. Glavers didn't know why Chen Zhao was looking for this rebel leader called Roaman. However, he could feel the coldness in Chen Zhao's tone. Half an hour later, Glavers called Chen Zhao again. Mr. Chen, did you receive the message I sent you? Yes, I got it. Chen Zhao saw that the information was quite comprehensive and was quite satisfied. Mr. Chen, if you need, I can help you get rid of this guy. Of course, the price will be good. Thanks, but no need, Chen Zhao said indifferently. Glavers was a bit disappointed. Chen Zhao had actually spent $10 million on intelligence. If he hired them, wouldn't it be even more? Unfortunately, Chen Zhao didn't choose them. If there was one place in the world that was wild, it would be Somalia. There was no other place in the world that was as wild and chaotic as Somalia. There were no rules here. No one was absolutely safe. Even the Middle East was like heaven compared to Somalia. Government troops, rebels, warlords, criminal organizations, pirates, mercenaries, and even killers formed a terrifying and chaotic zone here. Here, kids as young as 7 or 8 would attack people with weapons. Perhaps this 7 or 8-year-old child had killed more people than anyone else. At night, the gunshots wouldn't stop. Every now and then there would be gunshots. After a while, it would fall silent again. This was the norm here. Chen Zhao arrived at Marca, Somalia. There were broken walls everywhere. The buildings were very old. After the war, they became even more dilapidated. Chen Zhao seemed to have entered a Chinese village in the 1970s. Marca used to be an important city in Somalia. It had a certain industrial base, but the civil war had destroyed everything here. There weren't even 100,000 people in Marca now. More than half of them were related to the rebels. There were fortresses and pillboxes everywhere. There were traces of war everywhere. While Chen Zhao was strolling around, 2 black men stopped him and interrogated him in Somali. Their muzzles were almost at Chen Zhao's head. Chen Zhao raised his arms, his expression fearless. He allowed the 2 of them to search his body. "Do you speak English?" Chen Zhao asked. These 2 black men were complete foot soldiers. How could they understand English? They didn't understand English, but they knew that Chen Zhao was speaking it. When they didn't find anything, they pushed Chen Zhao, cursing. They seemed to want to take Chen Zhao somewhere. Just then, a white man suddenly appeared. When he saw Chen Zhao, he was clearly stunned. "Asian? Hey, hi. You speak English, right?" Chen Zhao was surprised. Kral glanced at Chen Zhao. He thought that Chen Zhao saw him as a savior. "Do you know where Risfar is now?" Kral was about to leave. Hearing Chen Zhao's words, he suddenly stopped. "Who are you?" Kral stared at Chen Zhao. "I was sent by Mr. Risfar's family to negotiate with Roaman," Chen Zhao said seriously. "What do you want to talk about?" "Mr. Roaman already gave us his conditions," Kral said. "Your only choice now is to accept our conditions." Chapter 1912. "I need to at least confirm if Mr. Risfar is alive," Chen Zhao said. "Otherwise, why would I give you the money?" Kral thought for a moment. Then he spoke to the 2 men in Somali. Then he brought Chen Zhao to the dungeon. Outside the dungeon, Chen Zhao was searched again. They were clearly worried that Chen Zhao had some kind of tracking device on him. Of course, reality proved that they were worried for nothing. Chen Zhao didn't have anything on him. The man who searched Chen Zhao wanted to take his ring. However, he couldn't take it off even after trying for a long time. Kral and his men checked Chen Zhao's body with equipment again. Just then, Luo Amon arrived. Chen Zhao had seen Luo Amon's information, including his photo. He knew that the last man was Luo Amon. "Is this Asian here to pay the ransom?" "Yes." Kral nodded. "What about the money? He needs to confirm if Risfar is still alive." "Is he okay?" "No, I checked him. There's nothing wrong with him." "Then hurry up. Let him take a look at Risfar, and then take the money." Then Chen Zhao was pushed into the dungeon. In the dim dungeon, Chen Zhao saw Risfar lying on the ground, covered in wounds. "Risfar!" Chen Zhao immediately went up to check his injuries. Risfar slowly opened his eyes. When he saw Chen Zhao, his face was filled with shock. Risfar propped himself up with difficulty. "Chin, why are you here?" "To take you home." "What nonsense are you talking about? You shouldn't be here. Don't worry. Wait here. I'll go out and talk to them. I think they'll agree to my request." Chen Zhao patted Risfar's shoulder. "Chen, those people can't communicate with words at all," Risfar said worriedly. Find a chance to leave. Don't worry, Qin Zhao said with a smile. I didn't plan on communicating with them in the first place. Bang, bang. At this moment, the mercenary standing outside the door knocked on the metal door heavily. Time's up. Come out now. Chen Zhao gave Risvar a look and walked to the door. The moment the metal door closed, Risvar, who was in the dungeon, suddenly heard a scream from outside. After calming down, Risvar could tell that it wasn't Chen Zhao's voice. Moreover, he knew that Chen Zhao was very skilled. Did Chen Zhao want to kill their way out of here with just one person? But was that even possible? The people outside the passageway also heard the screams coming from inside. Kral's expression changed. The person he'd sent to follow Chen Zhao didn't come out. One of Chen Zhao's hands was stained with blood. He immediately raised his gun and pointed it at Chen Zhao. Bang, bang. Clower fired without hesitation. Chen Zhao moved his body twice, and Kral's 2 shots missed. Kral was stunned. Smiling, Chen Zhao took out a grenade and pulled the ring. Kral's expression changed drastically, and he immediately flew to the side of the aisle. Chen Zhao had already thrown the grenade out. Bang! Both Kral and Roaman ran out of the room and called for their men to rush in. Meanwhile, Risvar, who was in the dungeon, fell into a state of panic because intense gunshots and explosions could be heard everywhere outside. After Chen Zhao had left, the gunshots and explosions hadn't stopped. Kral and Roaman didn't know what to do. They realized that the Asian couldn't be killed at all. In the beginning, their men could still rush into the building. However, after they entered the building, all they heard were miserable screams. Then they never came out again. Eventually, no one was willing to go in anymore. Just because they didn't go in didn't mean that the person wouldn't come out. Then miserable screams rang out beside them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 100. Kral, hurry up and think of something. Aren't you an elite mercenary? Roaman yelled at Kral, somewhat terrified. Kral wanted to solve the problem, but he didn't know how. His men weren't good at direct conflict. He was best at planning behind the scenes. For example, this time, it was through a series of traps that he managed to kidnap a billionaire. Now he was facing a terrifying murderer. He'd completely lost his sense of propriety and thought. No matter how many people came, they couldn't kill the man. Seeing that Kral didn't know what to do, Roaman could only keep calling for his army. Just then, a tank entered the battlefield. Boom! The tank fired into the darkness. However, the tank's shell didn't hurt him. Instead, it helped Chen Zhao get rid of the minions around him. Chen Zhao went over and dismantled the tank. Soon, Kral and Roaman realized that they couldn't understand the situation on the battlefield. Many times, the situation on the battlefield was beyond what humans should be capable of. For example, the tank had been cut open for no reason. Gradually, they vaguely realized maybe it wasn't humans who were fighting them. To be honest, killing was the most boring thing. Chen Zhao couldn't understand people who were addicted to killing. At least, the process wasn't interesting. The rebels weren't actually all bad people. Most of the time, they were forced to join the rebels and participate in this immoral war. More and more rebels chose to escape. Of course, Chen Zhao wouldn't let the main culprit escape. After half an hour of madness, the entire Marca fell into silence. Roaman and Kral were curled up in a low bungalow. They thought that they could escape the butcher this way, but the moment the door was pushed open, they fell into despair. They had guns to kill. Their guns were all aimed at the man at the door. Chen Zhao stood at the door. Do you think that thing in your hands is really trying to kill me? At that moment, Roaman opened fire, but Chen Zhao reached out and pinched the bullet. This action made them completely lose the will to fight. They finally realized that the person before them really wasn't human. At least humans couldn't catch bullets. Seeing them put down their guns, Chen Zhao finally smiled. Good. It seems like you finally understand your situation. How much money did Risvar give you? I can give you double, no triple. No, no, no. You can work with us. We can extort more money from him, Roa Man said excitedly. Chapter 1913. Just then, Chen Zhao suddenly heard strange cries from the forest. Unusual lights seemed to appear in the forest. They were like the eyes of a pack of beasts. But there weren't many beasts that moved in groups in the forests of Africa. Mountain gorillas were one, and there were also mountain wolves. But mountain gorillas would never approach human settlements. Mountain gorillas might look big and burly. In reality, they were all very timid and smart. They knew the dangers of humans. As for the wolf pack, it was even more unlikely for them to get close to human settlements, because wolves decided their range and number of packs based on the amount of food they had. The closer they were to human settlements, the less food there was. Perhaps 1 or 2 mountain wolves would occasionally approach a human village, but it was impossible for the entire pack to approach. Moreover, there weren't just a dozen pairs of eyes in the forest, but hundreds. The owner of those eyes let out a low and hoarse voice. Luo Amon suddenly shivered. He seemed to know what it was. Spirit beast. Spirit beast. It's a spirit beast. Luo Amon cried out in terror. Just then, a long howl came from the forest. The howl was loud and clear, echoing in the forest. At that moment, the few rebel soldiers who had escaped earlier ran back in panic. They weren't afraid of Chen Zhao anymore. They passed by Chen Zhao, shouting as they ran. Chen Zhao didn't care about them. Instead, he kept looking forward. Just then, a rebel in front of Chen Zhao was suddenly pounced on by something. At first, Chen Zhao didn't see anything, but with a flash of light, a translucent beast more than 3 meters long appeared on the rebel's body. It wasn't a wolf, lion, or leopard, but it was very big and ferocious. It tore at the rebel who'd been pounced on. In just 2 or 3 moves, the rebel soldier had been bitten into a bloody mess. Run, run, that's a spirit beast. Luo Amon cried out in terror. Large numbers of spirit beasts charged down from the forest. Very soon, the entire marca was affected. Oh no! Chen Zhao suddenly realized that Risvar was still in the dungeon. If such a monster charged into the dungeon, Risvar would definitely die. Chen Zhao didn't care about Luo Amon and Clower anymore. He turned and charged toward the dungeon. Bang! Suddenly, the iron door of the dungeon let out a heavy banging sound. Risvar was shocked. Was Chen Zhao outside? Risvar was hesitant. After Chen Zhao left, the metal door wasn't completely closed. However, Risvar still locked the door from the inside. Risvar looked through the hole in the iron door. It was pitch black outside and nothing could be seen. Risvar looked down at the bolt. He hesitated whether or not to open the door. Chin, is that you? There was no response from outside. Risvar gulped and hesitantly reached out to pull the latch. At this moment, a sharp scratching sound came from the iron gate. Risvar then saw the claw marks of some creature on the iron door. The iron door was scratched into a horrifying mark. Risvar was so frightened that he quickly retreated. There seemed to be something looking in through the scratches on the iron door. Bang! The iron door was sent flying. Risvar lowered his head in fear. The metal door slid past Risvar's scalp and stabbed into the wall behind him. Then Risvar felt something pounce on him. He clearly didn't see anything, but his body felt like it had been hit by a car. Then he saw a huge creature on top of him. The creature's body appeared slowly. Risvar didn't know what it was, but he knew that it was definitely a carnivore. Now, he was probably on the carnivore's menu. And now, he was likely to be on the menu of this carnivore. Then, he saw the carnivore being pulled away from him. Chen Zhao pulled the spirit beast out of Risvar's body. Then it smashed heavily into the wall. The spirit beast smashed into the wall and immediately turned into a glowing cloud of dust. Then it gathered again and returned to its beast form. Risvar felt as if he had just stepped through the gates of hell. Risvar panted heavily. He was frightened, really frightened. He had never experienced something so terrifying. The spirit beast pounced at Risvar again. It seemed that it also bullied the weak and feared the strong. It knew that Chen Zhao wasn't easy to deal with. But Chen Zhao lifted his leg and swept it horizontally. The spirit beast was sent flying. However, it once again turned into dust and returned to its original state. Chen Zhao grinned. Risvar grabbed the corner of Chen Zhao's shirt. "Chin, can you handle it?" When the spirit beast pounced at him again, Chen Zhao added force to his fist. Bang! Chen Zhao pierced through the spirit beast's body. This time, it didn't turn into dust. Its body gradually returned to its original state. At the same time, the place Chen Zhao had pierced started bleeding. Chen Zhao twisted his neck and looked back at Risvar. "Let's go." Risvar gulped. "Will it be okay outside?" "You'll be fine as long as you don't run away." When Risvar followed Chen Zhao out, he saw that the outside had become a hell of flesh and blood. Broken limbs were everywhere. Some were done by Chen Zhao, but most were done by the spirit beasts. These spirit beasts were like a sumptuous dinner. Chen Zhao and Risvar saw Luo Amon. A spirit beast had pounced on him. The spirit beast didn't kill him directly. Instead, it was gnawing on his arm. Roaman was howling, "Save me! Save me! Mr. Risvar! Save me!" Chen Zhao looked back at Risvar. "How was it? Did you vent your anger?" Risvar's body was a bit stiff. He didn't care about Roman's life or death, but there were so many spirit beasts around. He wasn't sure if Chen Zhao could handle it. "Chin, are you sure you can handle it?" Risvar asked uncertainly. "If you can't, you can leave first. I'll hide in that dungeon. I crossed the North Atlantic to save you. Do you think I'll give up on you now?" "You crossed the North Atlantic? How did you do it? Are you touched?" Chen Zhao grinned. "I'm not in the mood to joke with you." "Okay, I won't joke anymore. Let's deal with these problems first." Chen Zhao stretched his arms and legs. "I warmed up just now. We can officially start now." To Chen Zhao, the battle with the rebels was just a warm-up. These spirit beasts were the real battle. Chapter 1914. Careful! Suddenly, a spirit beast attacked from behind. Chen Zhao suddenly disappeared from Risvar's sight. The next moment, he kicked the spirit beast's soul away. "Do you have a cigarette?" Chen Zhao felt that he should light one and take a long drag. Risvar glanced at Chen Zhao. "There are still many things around. It's not the time to relax yet." "It's not a big problem." The spirit beasts all stopped eating and turned to look at Chen Zhao. The intelligence of these spirit beasts wasn't low. They could even understand the human language. Chen Zhao's arrogant and disdainful attitude had clearly angered them. All the spirit beasts attacked Chen Zhao at the same time. Chen Zhao casually smashed a spirit beast. Then he kicked another one to death. In the blink of an eye, he killed two. Apart from invisibility and turning into dust, these spirit beasts didn't have any special abilities. They were also very poor at attacking. They could only use physical attacks. Each individual's combat power could barely compare to an adult lion. But this level of power wasn't enough to defeat Chen Zhao. It couldn't even be considered a threat. Risvar suddenly realized that he didn't know Chen Zhao at all. If it weren't for this crisis, Chen Zhao would probably never have revealed his true abilities before him. He watched as Chen Zhao continuously slaughtered the spirit beasts before him. Risvar had a strange feeling, and a bit of anger. Chen Zhao actually hid so many secrets from him. Soon, more than 10 spirit beasts were killed. Although it was only 1%, the other spirit beasts seemed to have discovered Chen Zhao's combat power. Just then, a loud howl came from the back of the spirit beast horde. The other spirit beasts started retreating one after another. They retreated just like that. Chen Zhao had originally planned to fight for a long time. He didn't think that they'd retreat after killing only a dozen spirit beasts. Chen Zhao was quite disappointed. After all, He hadn't completed the battle he wanted. But this wasn't a bad thing. After all, Risvar was beside him. In such a chaotic situation, it was difficult for Chen Zhao to protect Risvar and fight at the same time. Their retreat wasn't a bad thing for Risvar. However, the spirit beasts had also taken away many corpses. They'd attacked Marka and killed at least 1,000 rebels. Was this the spiritual world of the African continent? It was completely different from the spiritual world in Europe, Asia, and North America. The African continent was not only human society, but it was also in a semi-barbaric era. Even the spirit world was still in a primitive age. There were actually so many magical beasts here. This spirit beast was definitely a type of magical beast, although Roa Man called them spirit beasts. However, they were living creatures, not ghosts or hell creatures. However, in this continent where human society was not developed, there was still a lot of natural scenery. That was why there were so many natural magical beasts. Moreover, these spirit beasts didn't appear out of nowhere. They must have resided in this forest for a long time. That was why the locals were so familiar with them. The battle between Chen Zhao and the rebels was probably the trigger that triggered their appearance. Risvar felt like he was on a roller coaster. Chen Zhao appeared, disappeared, and reappeared again. He saw the spirit beast horde again. In the end, the spirit beast horde retreated. Risvar had never experienced such ups and downs. As the spirit beasts retreated, Risvar finally felt the joy of surviving a calamity. Chen, what should we do now? Go to the beach. I contacted a group of pirates. Pirates? Risvar shuddered. You know pirates? They're a bunch of immoral bastards. Okay, I'm different from you. The pirates I know are different from the pirates you know too. Don't compare us. What's the difference? At least I won't be kidnapped. I'm a victim. Can you give me some warmth? Laura borrowed money from me earlier, and I transferred $600 million to her. Transfer it back to me later. Fuck you. Risvar gradually calmed down. He was even more grateful to Chen Zhao. When he was in the most danger, Chen Zhao had come all the way here. Then, he'd come to save him despite the danger. Before leaving, Chen Zhao had contacted Guret. When they arrived at the beach, Guret's people were already waiting there. Chin, are you sure they won't treat me as a hostage again? They wouldn't dare, Chen Zhao said. Oh, call Laura first. Chen Zhao handed a satellite phone to Risvar. But don't tell them what just happened. Risvar nodded. He respected Chen Zhao's request. Since Chen Zhao wasn't willing, he'd let him. Hey, Laura, it's me, Risvar said. I'm fine. Chen's friends saved me. Johnny, is that you? Is it really you? Laura's face was filled with disbelief. She asked Risvar over the phone, Johnny, how did you get saved? Don't ask about the details. Anyway, I should thank Shin the most. If not for him, I'd probably have died here. Risvar was truly grateful. Laura realized that Chen Zhao had gone out for a few hours. There was no reply. She didn't expect that it would only be a few hours. Chen Zhao had actually saved Risvar. Risvar and Laura chatted for a long time before hanging up reluctantly. Oh, Johnny, do you know where your ship is now? Risvar looked at Chen Zhao and then at the people on the pirate ship. Can your friends help? I only asked them to send you back. They don't care about anything else. Then what do we do? Did you forget me? It's just a ship. I don't want you to take the risk. It's not a risk for me. All right, the location should be 300 kilometers southeast of Mogadishu. Got it. Chen Zhao nodded and dove into the water. Laura, don't worry. Johnny's safe. I'm still worried that he's not back yet. Then let's go get him. Get him? Laura looked at Phalai, confused. Drive our ship out to sea, Phalai said. Are you sure? Of course. Will that work? Why not? Phalai said matter-of-factly. All right then. Laura was also very anxious at this moment. After all, Risvar had just been kidnapped, even though he'd just reported that he was safe. As long as she didn't see him, Laura couldn't be at ease. Chapter 1915. In the latter half of the night, Chun Zhao suddenly emerged from the water and climbed onto the boat. When Risvar saw Chun Zhao emerge from the sea, he was shocked. "Chen, where did you go?" "I helped you deal with the hijacked ship," Chun Zhao said. "Stop joking. This place is at least 1,000 kilometers away from the hijacked ship. You can't swim that far. Even if you can, you don't have that much time. It'll only take you an hour to go back and forth. So you don't know me well enough." "Know me?" Risvar suddenly remembered that Chun Zhao's appearance here didn't make sense. Logically speaking, he hadn't been kidnapped for more than 8 hours. It would take 15 hours to get from America to Somalia, crossing the North Atlantic Ocean. Then the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea was almost half the distance of the world. Then he would have to drive from Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, to Malta. It would take more than 10 hours. It could be said that it would take at least a day and a half to reach Marca if there were no accidents along the way. But Chun Zhao appeared in Malca that night. This wasn't normal. Moreover, Chun Zhao had charged in alone, especially in the end when Chun Zhao had fought against the spirits. Chun Zhao's various abilities in battle all proved that he wasn't a normal person. Risvar suddenly remembered. After their hotel had opened, Del had been acting strangely. He would occasionally do something strange. For example, he hung a Chinese 8 trigrams mirror in his office. He even had to get a strange potted plant in Risvar's office. He said it was a Chinese custom to attract wealth and treasures. Did Del know already? Risvar asked. No, he didn't just know. We're the same kind of people, Chun Zhao said. What? You're saying Del is as powerful as you? Of course. He can't cross half the world in a short time. Chun Zhao shrugged. People like us are spiritualists. Del is one of us. I'm very angry now, even angrier than when I was kidnapped. I'm actually the last person to know about this, Risvar said angrily. If this didn't happen, how long were you planning to hide it from me? Forever. I won't forgive you and Del. Risvar was even angrier. Unless you teach me to. I can't teach you, but Del has a master. You can try your luck with her, Chun Zhao said, smiling. Of course. I can't promise you that you have the talent. Del, and you can do it. I'm sure I can too. Risvar looked at him. Are all spiritualists the same? It's different. Every spiritualist has different attributes and magic. What's your magic? My magic system is rather complicated. Anyway, I'm developing in the direction of Superman in the movies' strength. I thought it was swimming. Risvar was very curious about this strange, supernatural world. He kept asking for all sorts of information about the spirit world. Risvar asked again, Did you swim across a distance of more than 10,000 kilometers? Just then, Chun Zhao's feet left the deck. Fly. Fly? Risvar's eyes widened as he held Chun Zhao's feet. You can fly? Chun Zhao nodded. I will. Then why don't you fly me back? Of course, unless you want to be crushed to death by the high-pressure airflow. Chun Zhao could bring Didi around the world, but it didn't mean that he could bring Risvar. Didi was a spiritualist herself. She'd also put on all sorts of equipment before leaving. With Chun Zhao's protection, she could passively resist the high-pressure airflow. But Risvar was different. He was just a normal person. Chun Zhao could either fly slowly with Risvar or let him die in the air. This ship is too slow. When we go around Africa and reach the Atlantic Ocean, I'll have Aman send you, Chun Zhao said. Aman? You didn't forget Aman, right? Of course I remember Aman. Oh, Aman isn't a normal killer whale, right? If you see Aman now, you'll definitely be shocked. It's not like I haven't seen Aman before, Risvar said in disdain. At most, he's a bit bigger. He felt that his willpower had been thoroughly tempered. No matter what happened, he wouldn't be affected. After a 48-hour journey, the pirate ship released Chun Zhao and Risvar into the sea. The pirates on the ship were confused too. After all, they weren't familiar with Qinzhou. But Chen Zhao got off the ship in the vast ocean. This place was thousands of kilometers away from the nearest land. They really didn't understand why Chen Zhao and Risfar would get off here. Risfar and Chen Zhao were soaking in the water. "Are you sure Amon is nearby?" Risfar asked worriedly. "Yes, he's here." As soon as Chen Zhao said that, Risfar suddenly realized that a huge shadow was looming over from the sea. Then he felt like he was stepping on something. Gradually, Risfar realized that he could stand up. He felt like he was stepping on land. Moreover, this piece of land was still floating up. Amon? Risfar was shocked. Soon, Amon floated to the surface with Chen Zhao and Risfar on his back. Although Amon was not completely exposed to sleep, but Risfar still saw Amon's huge and illogical form. This Amon? Risfar was dumbfounded. Amon was really too big. He was more than 100 meters long and had many bone spikes on his body. He also had a pair of huge wings. From his form, one could still tell that Amon was originally a killer whale. But Risfar still couldn't calm down. Too big. Amon was really too big. He was unbelievably big. "See? I told you that you'd find it unbelievable." "Is this really Amon? What kind is he?" Chen Zhao wouldn't tell Risfar about Amon's true identity. Risfar kept patting Amon's back, trying to talk to him. Amon was really fast. Chen Zhao was also controlling the water to speed up. This greatly shortened their journey time. Amon's appearance made Risfar even more curious about everything in the spiritual world, until the Hydra appeared in their field of vision.